Chapter 51. Leo collapsed in a huge pit. A concave footprint was clearly visible on his body. When turned over, there was a similarly concave fist mark on his back. His consciousness blurred, and scenes from his past and present lives kept flashing through his mind. Leo realized he was seeing a kaleidoscope of events. But he could no longer resist and could only lie there like a dead man. "Please me." In a trance, Leo heard the sound of the scabbard, still mean and begging to be beaten. "Please beg me." Its voice was somewhat urgent, perhaps because it sensed Leo's vitality gradually fading. Leo moved his lips, but no sound came out. However, the scabbard continued to shake. Since the scabbard and Leo had signed a blood contract, it could still understand what Leo meant, even without words. "Get out." The scabbard felt somewhat wronged, knowing Leo's life had to be saved, or it would also fall into eternal sleep. But his attitude was awful, seemingly fearless. That was because Leo also understood the symbiotic relationship between the two, and his poor attitude was to prevent the scabbard from taking advantage of him in the future. Cough. Leo, lying on the ground, coughed up a mouthful of blood. He knocked on the scabbard beside him, urging it. The scabbard had no choice but to start absorbing energy. Unlike the first awakening ceremony, this time Leo actively initiated the devouring, making the effect vastly different. As the scabbard moved, the first to notice the change was Poof, now above the deep pit, holding the armless Miriam in his arms. Seeing Leo moving again, he immediately flew away with Miriam. But the scabbard had already been keeping an eye on the chimera ants. Its powerful attraction acted like countless shadowy arms, pulling everything around into the giant pit. Kite in the distance had been observing the battlefield, but he didn't understand what was happening before him. The feeling was strange, neither from Miriam nor Leo. He and Shizuku rapidly retreated due to a gravitational vortex forming with Leo at its center, composed entirely of chimera ants. This image was terrifying. Imagine countless strangely shaped chimera ants forming a writhing, 100-meter-high cylinder. "Hell?" Kite said in horror. He believed this image would forever remain indelibly etched in his memory. "It seems to be Leo," Shizuku commented. She had spent significant time with Leo, and recognized that strange nen from him. Kite's expression tightened upon hearing this, increasing Leo's danger level. It seemed he had underestimated Leo's desire for revenge. Is Leo's desire for revenge that strong? Shizuku thought briefly before responding, "Very strong. Maki forced him to join the Phantom Troop before, but this guy ended up destroying the troop." Kite. The scene shifted. At this moment, Poof was trapped at the cylinder's center. Invisible arms seemed inserted into his veins, constantly sucking his vitality. "King. Even if you are the only one left, you must survive." Poof summoned all his strength, turning with gravity, and threw the gravely injured Miriam out. Unfortunately, he underestimated the greed of the scabbard. As soon as Miriam flew out, an invisible hand snatched him back. "King Tilda." Poof screamed in despair. Miriam moved his body, opening his eyes weakly, only to see countless corpses of his compatriots. "Hell?" At that moment, he shared the same thought as Kite, but was quickly awakened by Poof's scream, realizing the battle wasn't over yet. His condition was terrible. He had lost both arms and had several hideous wounds, gradually eroding his will to live. "Am I going to die? I am the king. The king destined to rule the world. How could I die here?" Miriam roared. His intense will to survive quickly calmed him down, analyzing how to break free. Not wasting time, he wrapped his tail around the floating corpse of a chimera ant, swinging like a monkey to escape. The cylinder of chimera ants gradually shrank, shedding corpses like leaves from a dying tree. Miriam felt his resistance decreasing, overjoyed at the thought of escape. "Where are you going?" Leo appeared naked behind Miriam. "Ha ha ha." Miriam was stunned momentarily, then burst into mad, ferocious laughter. "Ha ha, are you trying to scare me?" Leo smiled indifferently and drew Dragon Son. Squeak! He easily sliced Miriam's body in half, green blood spraying through the air. So easily? Leo looked at Dragon Son in confusion. Had it grown sharper? Idiot! You've absorbed all his life essence. The scabbard reminded Leo in time. Leo nodded in realization, casually materializing a new scabbard and inserting Dragon Son into it, flaunting it before the original scabbard. "You're punished for insulting your master. Watch your partner being replaced." "You are NT. What did you say?" "I can't hear you, must be censored," Leo teased. "I was wrong. I'll never do it again." Ignoring the scabbard, Leo plugged its mouth with dry bone. "I'm a bitch." Leo activated N, locating Kite and Shizuku 1 kilometer away. 1 kilometer? Leo exclaimed, hurriedly checking his Nen reserves. The results showed an increase of almost 5 times from before. This realization stunned Leo. He absent-mindedly leaped towards Kite, unaware of his naked lower half. Pervert. Shizuku's shout brought him back to reality, and he realized he jumped a kilometer without effort. 5 times. 5 times, Leo murmured in disbelief. Kite didn't understand, neither did Shizuku, but they both concluded one thing: Leo might be a pervert. Clothes, Kite reminded. Clothes? Leo then noticed he was standing naked before Kite and Shizuku. He instantly vanished from their sight. When Leo reappeared, he wore animal skins. "What did you say about clothes?" Leo's voice was dangerously threatening. Understanding immediately, Kite quickly replied, "Nothing. I didn't say anything." "Good. Pervert." Yet, Shizuku's voice brought Leo back to reality again. He glared angrily at Shizuku, who remained indifferent, and finally said, "Can you keep this a secret?" "Why? Pervert. I'll pay you." Miriam, Chapter 52. Leo left Kite and Shizuku and arrived alone at the ant nest. The place looked even more devastated after Leo's battle with Miriam. There wasn't a single patch of intact land around, it was like a birthday cake pressed flat with a face. Leo expanded his N, sensing no life nearby. He concluded that the scabbard had absorbed it all. Still, he cautiously drew Dragon Son and proceeded carefully. It's worth mentioning that Dragon Son was still sheathed in its new scabbard, while the original scabbard still had a dry bone stuffed into it. Sword 1. After a brief charge, Leo unleashed a 100-meter-long lightsaber. This wasn't his full strength, as his charge this time was short, only half the usual duration, and without the scabbard's enhancement. But the dazzling silver sword excited Leo, and a flush rose to his cheeks. Cut. After flashes of sword light, the surrounding ground sunk several meters. He sensed changes in himself, estimating he was now about twice as powerful as before. Although his Nen had increased more than 5-fold, the basic benefits of Nen abilities varied. Ren, Ten, Gyo, and Ken scaled directly with Nen quantity, whereas Ryu, In, and Zetsu leaned more toward technical skill. Currently, his physical condition was at humanity's peak, touching the barrier separating humans from something beyond. Thus, if he wished to rapidly become stronger, his next goal would be improving his Nen skills. However, these concerns could wait until he returned to the association. For now, he had to clean up the remaining Chimera ants. Especially the surviving squadron leaders. Without the queen, they would proclaim themselves kings, spelling disaster for ordinary humans. "Leo, you're the strongest Nen user I've ever seen," Kite remarked in amazement, walking over and observing the changed landscape. "Hey, stronger than Jing?" Leo chuckled. "Maybe. At least, the Jing-sen I know wasn't as strong as you are now," Kite replied, his expression complicated. He had always felt proud of Jing, but now that lofty image was gradually crumbling. The cause was Leo's overwhelming strength, which had shaken his worldview. "I'll take that as a compliment," Leo said, returning Dragon Son to the scabbard. He had already discarded the materialized toy scabbard, as it had just been a temporary amusement. The scabbard trembled, seemingly upset. "Leo, is there a limit to your ability?" Shizuku asked, referring to the scabbard's devouring power. Kite also looked over curiously. If limitless, wouldn't this ability be invincible? "Really? I'm not sure. This power comes from my Nen ability itself," Leo said while mentally questioning the scabbard about the limits of absorbing life. "Yes. You have no conscience. It's me. Everything in the world involves sacrifice and gain, and when I absorb energy, it costs me my own life." "Life?" Leo exclaimed, then explained to the puzzled Kite and Shizuku. "So, each time it absorbs energy, your Nen ability's durability decreases?" Kite surmised. "And once that durability runs out, your Nen ability disappears?" Shizuku continued. After Leo confirmed with the scabbard, he nodded, becoming solemn. He hadn't expected the side effects would impact only the scabbard. While this seemed beneficial and selfless on the scabbard's part, Leo couldn't treat it casually. The scabbard was his greatest asset. If he destroyed it chasing power that would naturally come with time, it would be like killing the goose that laid golden eggs, utterly foolish. He gently stroked the scabbard, proudly stating, "Don't worry. I won't have you sacrifice yourself for me anymore." Leo and the others spent 7 days wandering NGL Autonomous Country. During this time, cleanup proceeded smoothly. By interrogating lower-ranked Chimera Ant soldiers, Leo compiled a list of squadron leaders still hunting outside. He eliminated them one by one, including Colt, who, in the original timeline, would have turned over a new leaf. Unfortunately for him, encountering Leo in this lifetime removed any chance of redemption. Not because Leo was cruel, but because from the moment the Queen died by his hand, Colt, her most loyal subordinate, inevitably became his mortal enemy. With everything settled, Kite parted ways with Leo, continuing his exploration of unknown giant creatures. Leo and Shizuku left the autonomous country in a carriage, heading back toward the Hunter Association. On the airship bound for the association, Leo and Shizuku each took a window seat, sitting quietly, awaiting departure. However, when Leo opened the curtains, he was stunned momentarily. With his enormous Nen, Leo's N was always active, immediately detecting a clown stepping aboard the airship. "Oh? Isn't that guy?" It was Hisoka, dressed in an emerald green clown outfit. The symbols on his chest had changed from hearts and spades to clubs and diamonds. "Don't pretend. When did you spot me?" Leo exposed Hisoka's act immediately, knowing from his perspective that Hisoka's ticket was fake. Clearly, Hisoka had known Leo was here and deliberately boarded this ship, though Leo didn't know who had the misfortune of catching Hisoka's eye. You're Nen? It's beyond me now," Hisoka replied cryptically, clearly shocked by Leo's transformation. He didn't realize when he'd started mentally ranking people, but he couldn't comprehend Leo now. It was like asking an elementary teacher to grade an emo exam, far beyond his capability. "What? Want to kill me?" Leo teased. "I'd love to. But I realize I'm not qualified yet," Hisoka said, somewhat despondent. He didn't mind how Leo became so strong, rather, he was disappointed in his own current weakness. "Don't despair. You know I despise natural talent. With regular training, you'll soon catch up," Leo said with exaggerated sympathy, irritating Hisoka greatly. "All right then, just wait." Suddenly invigorated, Hisoka shrugged off his previous gloom instantly. "You truly are a transmuter," Leo remarked, amused. "I feel like you're mocking me." "Don't worry about it." Thus, an otherwise dull journey became interesting with Hisoka's addition. Leo enjoyed seeing Hisoka frustrated by his inability to surpass or defeat him. 2 days later, Leo and his group arrived at the Hunter Association headquarters. Seeing Hisoka still following him, Leo turned and asked, "This is the association's HQ. What are you doing here?" "Hey, you've talked a lot on the way, but you're mistaken about something, Leo. I'm not here because of you," Hisoka declared loudly, seemingly waiting eagerly for this moment. Leo looked briefly surprised but soon understood Hisoka's intention. The Dark Continent? Of course. How could I ever be satisfied playing with human world toys? Chapter 53. After entering the association, Hisoka disappeared, and Leo and Shizuku returned to the 12th underground floor. Currently, only Maki and Zatsu remained in December's office. It seemed the number of missions had gradually increased lately. "Hi." Leo greeted, but Maki ignored him. Her eyes skipped past Leo and settled directly on Shizuku. "You're back?" "Yeah." Shizuku approached desk number 8, pulling a chair next to Maki, and sat down. "How was the mission?" Maki asked, pouring Shizuku a glass of orange juice. "It was exciting. I nearly died several times, though I'm still unclear why," Shizuku recalled. "Hey, Shizuku, how many times did you almost die? Why didn't I know?" interjected Leo, who had been eavesdropping nearby. "There were several times I almost got hit by the aftermath of your fights. That would have killed me, right?" Shizuku replied. "Ah, yeah, that would definitely kill you." Seeing Maki glance at him indifferently, Leo guiltily rested his head on the table. "The aftermath?" Maki asked curiously. "Yeah, it was powerful enough to instantly destroy a city." Seeing Shizuku's serious expression, Maki believed her. The battles she remembered were not simple at all, indicating that this bastard Leo had become stronger again. She glanced again at Leo, who was still pretending to be dead, embarrassment crossing her face. How could she avenge the captain now? During this period, the remaining Phantom Troop members weren't idle within the association. Between missions, they'd been searching for Nen exorcists, excluding the association's own specialist. Finks had even tried issuing an assassination request to the Zoldyck family, but it had been declined. However, this indirectly confirmed that Kurapika's chain jail conditions didn't forbid hiring others to kill, as Finks was still very much alive and active. But now, Leo was simply too powerful. There were likely very few individuals in the human world capable of killing him. Maki fell into deep thought. Shizuku, unaware of the context, looked curiously at her friend. If she guessed correctly, Maki was definitely hiding something from her. There was no alternative. They needed someone harmless to lull Leo into a false sense of security, someone who wouldn't show any hatred. Among the troop, only Shizuku fit this role perfectly. Leo lounged at his desk for a while, then went to find Netero. The chairman had recently stepped out for the Hunter exam, but he should still be in the association headquarters now. The Hunter exam? Leo narrowed his eyes. With so many recent events, he'd forgotten about the Tunpa brothers. After meeting Netero, Leo immediately asked about the examinees who passed. If he recalled correctly, the candidates this time were relatively average. Considering Tunpa's 30-plus exam experiences, it wasn't impossible for him to pass. Only one passed, named Tunpa. Seeing Leo's surprised expression, Netero asked, "Why? Do you know him?" "It's more fate than familiarity. By the way, has his instructor been chosen yet? Why not assign him to me?" Leo suddenly had a brilliant idea. This kind of minor matter isn't significant. On another note, Leo, haven't you become too strong? Your Nen surpasses even my peak. Netero narrowed his eyes, a hint of suspicion crossing his face. "Chairman Netero, you don't suspect I'm possessed by darkness like Okada, do you?" Leo asked in disbelief. "Can't I? I cherish my life above all else, why would I touch that egg?" It's just that my Nen ability experienced a breakthrough, Leo explained. Your breakthrough isn't like ours, is it? Netero seemed convinced. He removed his coat, rolled his neck with a few cracking sounds, and gestured to Leo. Show me a few moves. Right here? Now. Before Leo could fully respond, Netero appeared before him, unleashing a swift punch that left afterimages. Chairman? Leo quickly dodged aside, but Netero wasn't finished. He swiftly turned, driving his fist directly toward Leo. The remarkable thing about Netero's attack was its incredible speed yet absolute control. There wasn't even a speck of dust stirred in the office. Leo crossed his arms to block. The punch was heavy but within his ability to withstand. Seeing his attack blocked, Netero charged forward again. This time, he swung his arms in a wide circle, then swiftly clasped his palms together, launching another punch. Though Leo understood the trick behind the technique, witnessing it firsthand still astonished him. How could someone move so many times yet punch faster than ever? Realizing fists alone wouldn't be enough, Leo knew he needed a weapon. He couldn't use Dragon Sun, its power would demolish the entire association, incurring astronomical damages. Was there another, weaker sword? Suddenly, Leo had an idea. He shaped his right hand into a blade, his left into a scabbard, mimicking a sword draw stance. Netero sensed danger immediately, but rather than worry, excitement flooded his face as he unleashed his 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva. Cut. Though Leo merely used his hand as a sword, he performed the move with impressive precision. A moderate-sized sword energy surged forward, clashing against Netero's fist shadows. Boom! The entire Hunter Association trembled, and countless powerful N instantly swept through every corner of the building. That's Chairman Netero's 100-type Guanyin. Who is his opponent? Unfamiliar, yet frighteningly powerful. Vice Chairman Periston instantly grasped the situation. Who entered the chairman's office just now? Periston asked his secretary. The beautiful secretary hesitated momentarily, then replied, "It should be the new December leader recently appointed by the chairman. If I recall correctly, his name is Leo." The December group of nobodies? Leo? He actually became significant. Now, that's interesting. A mysterious smile appeared on Periston's face, causing the secretary to shudder slightly. She knew this vice chairman's true nature was far darker than his bright exterior suggested. Netero's office. The room was a mess, documents scattered everywhere, broken tatami mats, and a long crack stretching across the ceiling, all evidence of the recent battle. I'm old. I'm really old, Netero sighed. Chairman, you're over 100. Of course, you're old, Leo said heavily, almost accusing Netero of attacking him without warning. TSK. What do you know? 100 years old is merely the beginning of life. If you consider age alone, I'm practically 20. Netero tugged defiantly at his beard. 20? Chairman, are you still dreaming? Leo asked incredulously. Humph. You brat, can't you let an old man like me win? Look, your hand's bleeding. Netero pointed to a tiny cut, barely a centimeter long, on Leo's hand. You just said you're young. Now you're old again? What's going on? Leo was baffled by Netero's contradictions. Just kidding. Let's get serious. Leo, what's really behind your strength? Don't tell me it appeared out of thin air, Netero asked seriously. Leo was tempted to honestly say it had indeed appeared from nowhere, but fearing he'd shock the old man, he instead told him everything about the NGL incident, substituting the scabbard with a generic Nen explanation but truthfully reporting everything else. Chimera ants? And the Dark Continent again. Netero rubbed his brow painfully. It seemed this kid, Leo, always had ties to the Dark Continent and repeatedly got tangled in darkness. Chapter 54. After leaving Netero's office, Leo followed the instructions on the Hunter website and arrived at a sanatorium exclusively for hunters. Hunter is a diverse profession covering all walks of life. However, it's more a status than just a profession, representing humanity's elite level. Naturally, the health of these elites required management by a specialized organization, the sanatorium before Leo. Combining physical treatments with psychological counseling, the sanatorium was essentially a recovery center for hunters. Upon presenting a hunter license, patients received unconditional treatment, no matter their injuries. And Biscuit, who had been severely injured by Kuroka on Greed Island, was currently here. Leo purchased a bouquet of flowers and, after asking for directions, reached Biscuit's ward. But the scene in the room left him dumbfounded. Through the window on the door, Leo saw Biscuit, now physically a child, lying on the floor, assembling something from colorful gems like building blocks. He never imagined Biscuit's injuries could be this severe, prompting him to quickly call for Biscuit's personal doctor. When a tall woman with long, straight hair and a white coat appeared, Leo immediately asked, "How is her condition now?" "You're not family. Are you a colleague or friend?" The woman's voice was cold, as if intentionally distancing herself. Even colder than the temperamental Maki. Leo understood, it was likely numbness from witnessing too much life and death. "I'm both a colleague and a friend. How's she doing?" Leo spoke seriously, knowing he needed to treat the woman with equal seriousness. "There's nothing wrong with Biscuit-chan's body or mind," said the female doctor. "You think it's okay for her to be like this?" Leo pointed at Biscuit, who was still on the floor. "Yes, but I'm referring to Biscuit-chan, not Biscuit-senpai." The female doctor's expression finally changed, showing some surprise. "The issue is, her current physical age is about 12 years old." 12 years old? Rejuvenation? The female doctor's eyes brightened, interest showing clearly in her expression. Rejuvenation. That's a good phrase. Can I borrow it in the future? Leo nodded, but quickly refocused. Her memory as well? Yes, she's now a genuine lolly. You men like that, right? The female doctor said, fully returning to normal. I'm not a lollican, wait. How did this even happen? Leo stared at the doctor in horror, realizing her amazing ability to derail conversations. Surprising, isn't it? After multiple examinations, we discovered that her time was devoured by something. Specifically, the period from when Biscuit-chan was 12 until she was 57, the female doctor explained, placing a lollipop between her red lips. Want one? No, I don't like sweets. No, that's not the point. Leo grew irritated. Something was wrong, his focus kept drifting. He took a deep breath, shifting his gaze from the doctor back to Biscuit. This phenomenon couldn't be explained simply by rejuvenation. Time is a uniquely human concept, a parameter defining the movement of matter. But now, Biscuit had returned to her original form, losing 45 years in the process. Leo recalled events from Greed Island. The only person capable of such an act was the possessed Kuroka. If Kuroka represented greed, he certainly possessed a method of plunder. However, this still felt improbable. When Biscuit was injured, Kuroka was only partially awakened. Could Kuroka have fully awakened after stealing Biscuit's time? The more Leo thought, the more he questioned why the vast dark continent remained almost entirely unknown. Excuse me, are there other surviving hunters from Greed Island here? You noticed? Correct. Like Biscuit-chan, many lost significant amounts of their time. Some even reverted directly to infants, requiring extensive care. This sanatorium caters mainly to adults, so now we're stuck personally looking after these kids. I'm fortunate enough to care for Biscuit-chan specifically, the female doctor replied gratefully. Leo stayed silent. His thoughts grew clearer, and he refused to be distracted again. The culprit was undoubtedly Kuroka, and his theory aligned closely with reality. He sighed deeply. It seemed Jing's journey to find his son was turning out much tougher than Gon's journey to find his father from the original timeline. He smiled faintly, handed the bouquet to the female doctor, and departed. However, the unclear purpose of the bouquet later led to minor misunderstandings. After leaving the sanatorium, Leo considered someone else who could mentor him. His original plan had been to ask Biscuit, but she was clearly not an option now. She'd always enjoyed pretending to be young, but now that her dream had come true, he couldn't tell if she'd be happy or sad. What about trying the Zoldyck family? The sudden thought startled Leo. The Zoldycks were notoriously expensive, demanding exorbitant fees for everything. Immediately dismissing the idea, he decided to consult Netero instead. Surely, the chairman could recommend capable mentors. It was evening when he returned to the association, bathed in the deep, serene twilight. As Leo was about to pester Netero, he was halted by a familiar figure. "I haven't seen you in days, and you've become so strong." Surprise and suspicion filled Jing's weathered face. "Just a breakthrough in Nen. By the way, Jing, have you seen Biscuit?" Leo asked calmly. "Senior Biscuit? Seems my dog accidentally hurt her." "Sorry about that," Jing replied carelessly. Leo looked at Jing sympathetically before clarifying, "Biscuit has become a real little girl now." "What?" Leo chuckled and explained the entire situation from the sanatorium, sharing his own conclusions as well. After listening, Jing's face turned pale. Such a terrifying ability could dominate even on the Dark Continent. He immediately began questioning if saving Gon was still possible. "That's how it is," Leo calmly said, seemingly understanding Jing's earlier casualness had hidden his deeper worries. With a single revelation, he'd shattered all of Jing's remaining hope. Jing's expression turned solemn. "Can you help me, Leo?" "Why should I? I don't like pointless trouble," Leo rejected decisively. "What do you want? If it's within my power, I'll give it to you." "You shouldn't have done it in the first place," Leo shook his head, turning to leave. Suddenly recalling Netero's assessment, that Jing was among the world's top 5 Nen users, Leo realized this was a perfect opportunity. He halted, turned back, and said, "If you teach me everything about your Nen, I wouldn't mind lending a hand when I eventually go to the Dark Continent." "With your current strength, do you really need me?" Leo chuckled softly. "I can't even fully control my strength yet. What level do you think I'm at?" Jing, "Hey hunters. Quick cult break. Did you know Illumi can impersonate other people's faces using pins? He doesn't just manipulate, he shapeshifts. You probably did know that. Let's keep going." Chapter 55. Jing accompanied Leo to December's gym. He took off his coat, revealing lean muscles, and said, "Cut me." Leo was stunned. Did this guy have some kind of masochistic streak? Just because he was his senior, did he really have to slash him? Jing beckoned to Leo with his index finger. Swish. In response, Leo swiftly drew Dragon Sun, sending out a blade of energy over 10 meters long toward Jing. Truly terrifying. Jing used Ken to forcibly resist the blow. Do you know? Practicing Nen eventually leads to the same destination. Once you reach a certain level, the system can no longer limit you. Are you joking? I don't even understand the basics of training the transformation system, Leo replied immediately. The strengthening and specialization categories are the most unique of the 6 Nen types. Emission and manipulation control aura externally, transformation and conjuration change the nature of aura. But what about the special cases, the strengthening and specialization systems? Jing paused. Under Leo's astonished gaze, he formed his hand into a sword, releasing a slash identical to Leo's earlier attack. Strengthening is the foundation, the starting point. Specialization, meanwhile, is the pinnacle. Do you remember Chairman Netero's 100-type Guanyin Bodhisattva? That ability incorporates all categories of Nen, making it essentially a specialization type. 100 type Guanyin? It seems logical, but still odd. What about the water divination test? It's genuinely challenging to master a Nen type that's not naturally suited. Leo was now more confused than ever, feeling as though Jing was dismantling his understanding of Nen entirely. It's easy. People have innate talents, good at some things, bad at others. But does that mean we can't learn something we're not naturally good at? The water divination test only reveals our initial affinity. Only fools would treat it as their absolute limit. Our path is something we forge ourselves. Understanding flashed in Leo's eyes. He grasped the point. Nen users had allowed the water divination test to dictate their path. Most hunters blindly followed it, forgetting that Nen was fundamentally just human energy under human control. What about innate specialization users? Leo suddenly remembered Kurapika, who mastered every category in Emperor time. As I've said, type is just talent. They have special talents, but are you envious? Jealous? Everything has a price. Those people are actually quite pitiful, their futures were set at birth. But we can shape ours ourselves. A powerful light flashed in Jing's eyes, filled with confidence and hope. Leo finally realized why Jing was regarded as a legend among legends. He had transcended limits. Thank you. Huh? Any decent mentor could have explained that. It's nothing special. Jing, previously enthusiastic, was somewhat embarrassed by Leo's thanks. He quickly moved to the treadmill, cranking it up to the highest speed to distract himself. But Jing, how exactly should I practice the transformation system? Leo turned to his own biggest issue, the frustratingly difficult transformation system. Why can't you master the transformation system? Instead of answering, Jing questioned Leo back. Leo froze. This question reminded him of his chemistry teacher's final words to him in his previous life. Why can't you master chemistry? Was it talent? Effort? Or was it the method itself? Exactly, it was method. Leo suddenly realized he simply lacked the right approach to training the transformation system. He looked at Jing, and upon seeing him nod, understood that this was his turn to be read like an open book. Truly, karma came around. Due to the water divination test, Nen users arbitrarily restricted their futures, resulting in incomplete methods of practicing across systems. You're naturally an emitter who wants to practice transformation, right? Your sword energy already contains transformation elements, yet you're confused about training it. Your Nen condition resembles the specialization type. Jing appeared thoughtful, seemingly unaware of the true nature of Leo's scabbard. He hadn't realized that, in a sense, Leo already possessed specialization attributes. But Leo understood. Reflecting on Jing's earlier words, he quickly realized he was indeed following a predetermined path, the path set by his scabbard. Jing-san, consider me someone similar to a specialist. Due to certain circumstances, my Nen ability wasn't innate but was acquired through a rare treasure, Leo explained respectfully. I see. So a treasure modified your Nen. Your situation is more complicated than most, and now I understand why you struggle with transformation. Jing paused dramatically, carefully observing Leo. It's an IQ problem. IQ? What does IQ have to do with this? Leo immediately lost composure. Calm down, let me explain. Strengthening forms the foundation of Nen, emission controls aura externally, while transformation alters its fundamental properties. Your problem with transformation is simply due to insufficient understanding of the nature of the world. Nen is essentially a universal clay that can be shaped into anything. But, Leo, if you don't grasp the world clearly, how can you shape Nen correctly? You mean I need basic knowledge, like physics? I'm talking about chemistry, don't avoid reality. Jing smiled, downloading a chemistry course and sending it to Leo. This is just the foundation for practicing transformation. The real test is whether your body can truly accept change. This is a difficult path, some people never achieve it. Leo, do you still want to continue? Jing spoke meaningfully. Chemistry? Why chemistry? Leo was still in shock over the mention of chemistry, missing Jing's deeper point. His struggle with chemistry, unfortunately, had carried over from his previous life. It wasn't as simple as just grasping the method. Jing ran on the treadmill, helplessly sighing. He understood Leo's predicament, but if Leo didn't overcome this obstacle, he'd never reach his bright future. York New City. Due to Leo's interference, several events had changed, like the fate of the fortune teller, Neon Nostrade. Kurapika still served as a bodyguard for the influential Nostrade family, and due to his exceptional skills, he'd already replaced the original captain. He had also successfully reclaimed every Scarlet Eye appearing at the auctions. Now, Kurapika, still dressed in his black suit, and the music hunter, Melody, accompanied him just as in the original timeline. If it wasn't fate, then perhaps Melody simply admired Kurapika's beauty. Kurapika, I'm tired of York New City. The recent auctions have nothing interesting. Talk to my dad and take me to the Kakin Empire. Neon clung to Kurapika's arm, whining irritatingly. Kakin Empire? You don't know. Kakin recently joined the V5, no, now it's V6. V5? You mean that international alliance? It's V6 now. Kakin must be powerful. Let's go check it out, Tilda. Miss, any other reason? That alone won't convince your father. Kurapika seemed uninterested in Kakin. Actually, I've been talking online with the fourth prince of Kakin. I did a fortune reading for him once, and we became online friends. He invited me personally, Neon admitted, planning to meet him directly. A nation joining V5 shouldn't be underestimated. Miss, aren't you worried they might covet your prophetic abilities? Kurapika still looked indifferent. It should be fine. He even promised to give me Scarlet Eyes as a gift. Neon smiled innocently. Isn't this just some creepy uncle luring children with candy? Scarlet Eyes? Did you just say Scarlet Eyes? Kurapika suddenly screamed strangely, startling Neon, who leaped from the sofa, clutching her doll in fright. Kurapika? After a brief pause, Kurapika smiled harmlessly. I'm fine, miss. Please pack your bags, we'll soon visit the Kakin Empire. Chapter 56. While Leo and Jing were at December's gym, the Pioneer Group's preparations were nearing completion. The next day was bright, with clear skies and warm sunlight. The main entrance of the Hunter Association was bustling, filled with Pioneer Group hunters, spies from various nations, and curious onlookers. A particularly eye-catching figure stood among them. If Leo had been there, he would have recognized him immediately. This was beyond Netero. Were you also drawn here by the Dark Continent? Hisaka, blending into the crowd, murmured with excitement in his eyes. He knew he was stronger than beyond Netero, perhaps even significantly stronger. But fighting someone like him was precisely what excited him. Kid, rein in your murderous aura. Beyond Netero suddenly appeared behind Hisaka, patting his shoulder before returning to his original spot. Ooh, quite fast. But didn't your father ever teach you not to touch strangers casually? Hisaka said with a smile. Beyond Netero's face grew cold, but before he could respond, he felt a tugging force from his palm. He chose to wait calmly, anticipating Hisaka's next move. As expected, Hisaka immediately acted. Beyond Netero was flung into the air, tracing a parabolic arc, before crashing toward a familiar elderly figure who just emerged from the association's entrance. Ha! Ha! Father and son sighed simultaneously. What a warm welcome, Beyond. But didn't I tell you not to challenge this chain before my death? Netero, who'd planned to announce the departure date, unexpectedly encountered the son he hadn't seen in years. Hey, old man. You're the one who unlocked the shackles yourself. Tell me, how did you persuade the V5? Beyond Netero asked bluntly. Even I envy the elderly who can enjoy family life. Beyond, if you return home and show filial respect, maybe we can talk, Netero sighed with mock nostalgia. Ha! You're killing me. You're Netero, the same Netero as me. Beyond Netero laughed loudly. Aren't you the same Netero as me? It's me. No. It's me. Father and son refused to concede, amusing the spectators outside the association. Few expected President Netero to have such unresolved family issues. At this moment, Vice Chairman Periston stepped forward. Chairman, it's time to begin. Oh, almost forgot the main event after seeing this rebellious son of mine, Netero slapped his forehead exaggeratedly. Ahem. Netero hummed softly, activating his nen. Silence instantly enveloped the area as everyone felt an irresistible solemnity. I assume everyone knows the Hunter Association has established a pioneer group for the Dark Continent expedition. Today, their preparations are complete. I hereby announce that the departure for the Dark Continent will commence in 3 days. Clap. 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 A burst of enthusiastic applause erupted, obviously orchestrated by the mischievous vice chairman. Ahem. I haven't finished yet, why rush? Don't you all enjoy looking at this old face? There's another matter. I've pondered this for a long time without resolution. Today, since so many are present, I'll ask openly. Should we popularize Nen abilities? Chairman. What are you thinking? Periston asked in surprise, clearly unaware of this plan. No. Wouldn't that cause chaos? The chairman has grown senile. It's not impossible, it would make life more interesting. I object. I support it. The usually harmonious Hunter Association quickly devolved into chaos. Netero, the instigator, smiled silently as he watched. Chairman. What's your intention? Periston asked again seriously. Netero turned his head and replied somberly, if possible, I wouldn't choose this, Periston. But once the Dark Continent is opened, a war involving all humanity is inevitable. I must do this. Is it that serious? Only by peering into the abyss can humanity grasp true fear. Seeing Netero's rarely serious demeanor, Periston finally understood the gravity of the matter. Netero, the leaders wish to speak with you. A cold-faced man in a black suit suddenly appeared behind Netero. Periston, how about you take over as chairman? I think it's finally time to retire. Please stop joking, chairman. Ignoring the stern-faced messenger, the two continued chatting casually. The man delivered his message and swiftly vanished. Despite thousands of hunters present, only a few noticed his presence. After Netero's announcement, the crowd gradually dispersed. Hisoka blended into the departing hunters, allowing Beyond Netero to easily find him. Atop the Deke Hotel's rooftop. Interested? Hisoka asked straightforwardly. Beyond Netero shook his head slightly, opened his phone, and sent a friend request to Hisoka. You have impressive abilities. Interested in doing something exciting with me? Hisoka laughed outright. For me, excitement means fighting you right now. A battle fanatic? Fine. I can help enhance your strength, otherwise, you won't stand a chance. And the price is joining your team? Hisoka guessed. No, I only need you to help with something you'll undoubtedly enjoy. After giving Hisoka a mysterious smile, Beyond Netero turned and left. Hisoka watched him leave, muttering, what a dangerous man. Did I board a pirate ship? But isn't that exactly what I want? Kaken Empire. A flying ship slowly landed, and fortune-teller Neon Nostrate excitedly descended, her bodyguards close behind. So, this is Kaken? It feels quite ancient. Neon looked around curiously. After all, just 30 years ago, it was still considered a relic of ancient civilization, Kurapika replied, having reviewed extensive information about the empire and its princes during the flight. Where's my airport pickup? Wait, let me call, Neon responded. Beep. It's me, Neon. What? You've already departed? Where's the Dark Continent? How can I even reach you now? Kurapika, we may have come here for nothing, Neon said with disappointment. It's fine. The Hunter Association is also preparing a Dark Continent expedition. Perhaps we can secure passage. Really? Kurapika. As soon as Killua disembarked from another airship, he immediately spotted Kurapika and approached rapidly. Killua? Are you alone? Where's gone? Killua fell silent. Seeing this, Kurapika realized something serious had occurred. He gently guided Killua away from the Nostrade entourage. What happened to Gon? Reluctant to revisit painful memories, Killua briefly replied, Gon was captured by people from the Dark Continent. This time, I'm accompanying Prince Haukenberg of Kaken there to rescue him. Upon hearing this, Kurapika immediately offered to join him. Touched by his friend's sincerity, Killua responded, All right, let me ask Prince Haukenberg. Chapter 57. Leo sat cross-legged in the center of a dark cave. Jing had already left, and now he needed to prepare for the upcoming expedition to the Dark Continent. However, thanks to Jing's generous guidance over the past 2 days, Leo had grown significantly more adept at controlling his aura. At this moment, his aura was beginning to solidify around his body, almost as if turning to a physical substance. This was the only transformation type technique he could currently train, cold meditation. Hiss. After completing his Hatsu exercise, Leo rubbed his arms vigorously. It was indeed freezing. Still, a smile slowly crept across his face. He was now inspired to develop his next Ken technique, Great Red Lotus Rinmaru. Unfortunately, he lacked creativity. All of his moves were improvised. Ken Ling was a freestyle creation. Kenichi blatantly copied the Wind God's special effects blade, and the upcoming Ken Ni would probably resemble an ice dragon soaring through frost. Leo. Why is it so cold here? Chairman Netero wants to see you. Shizuku poked her little head through the tunnel entrance but quickly pulled back, seemingly startled. Upon hearing this, Leo stood up and twisted his stiff joints, producing loud cracks like thunder. If memory served, today was the day the pioneer group would set sail. He returned to his room, took a shower, changed into a navy blue suit, admired himself in the mirror for a few moments, then left the 12th floor. He rode the elevator with Shizuku, who had also changed into fresh clothes. Shizuku, suits don't suit you. Why not wear something more feminine? Why? You're the one who said I should wear formal clothes, Shizuku replied, unbuttoning her collar slightly to reveal a bit of flawless skin. The size doesn't fit. Your suit looks a little tight, Leo said meaningfully, sneaking a glance. Tight? It really is tight around my chest. Should I go change? It's fine. Maybe it'll help people appreciate your broad heart, Leo teased with a grin. You're making fun of me again, aren't you? Ding. The elevator doors opened at an awkward time. Leo chuckled, stepped out, and appeared in the association's main hall. The place was packed with people, most were there to watch the live broadcast. But Leo already knew where the pioneer group was gathering. He pulled Shizuku out of the crowd and headed for the coast. This particular port had seen little use lately, having been sealed off by the association over 2 months ago. Leo presented his hunter license and passed through the outer gate unimpeded. After walking 100 meters, he saw the pioneer's sails, and several familiar faces. Most notably, Hisoka and Beyond Netero standing together. Leo couldn't understand how those two had teamed up. Someone as calculating as Beyond Netero shouldn't tolerate someone as unpredictable as Hisoka. Yet there they were, talking and laughing. Leo shifted his gaze and saw his subordinates, Romand and Hatton. To be honest, he never quite understood the purpose of the December organization. They had never operated as a unit, and as its leader, he was often left isolated. Perhaps this was just Netaro's way of recruiting him into the fold. He turned his gaze again and spotted Jing with the Greed Island team. Notably, Razor was among them, apparently still feeling guilty over what had happened to Gon. As he scanned the crowd, Leo realized just how many familiar faces he now recognized, proof that he had integrated into this world. "Chairman, if you had something to say, you could have just called. Did you really need me to come all the way here?" Leo complained as he approached Netaro. "Sniff sniff. Chairman, could you not sniff me like a golden retriever?" Leo quickly pushed him away. Netaro smiled, relieved. "Leo, you're my key. Because of you, I can glimpse a greater world beyond." "What? I don't get it." Netaro reached up to pat Leo's shoulder but couldn't reach it, even in his platform shoes, so he gave him a playful punch instead. "You'll understand someday. I didn't call you here for anything specific, I just wanted you to see." "See?" "Yes. Witness humanity take its first dark step. Isn't it supposed to be a step forward?" "No. It's a forward step into darkness." Leo was surprised by Netaro's serious demeanor. The old man only acted like this at critical moments. Was this one of them? "All right, then today I'll be your bodyguard." "Good, I approve." Leo's presence quickly drew attention, especially his easy conversation with Netaro. Whether they knew him or not, every hunter there silently made a mental note of his name. "You're here," Jing said, walking over. "I shouldn't have come." Leo suddenly adopted a melodramatic tone and looked pained. "Why?" "Cut. You're supposed to say, but you still came, haven't you read the script?" Leo snapped. "Wow, Leo, you're such a drama queen." "Haha, let me have my moment." The atmosphere gradually lightened. Some hunters were saying goodbye to family, others chatting about the future, like students ready to embark on a life-changing trip. Time passed, and the sunlight grew stronger. One by one, hunters were verified and boarded the Pioneer. Leo followed Netaro onto a viewing platform. Before them was a 500-meter-long warship, a true steel behemoth. Its main hull was watertight and hollow, encased in outer plates and topped with a continuous upper deck. Structurally, it utilized longitudinal framing, transverse framing, and a hybrid layout. It was also outfitted with the Association's newest weaponry, laser cannons. Leo was very curious, could it shoot out massive world-destroying beams like in the movies? "It's mostly for show. It's meant for large sea beasts. Its power is average," Netaro said, noticing Leo staring at the cannons. "The chairman's average probably means incredible by our standards, yo." Leo. Periston suddenly appeared and greeted him warmly. Leo smiled politely but stayed alert. As far as he recalled, this was their first meeting, yet Periston spoke like an old friend. "Don't be so formal. I've heard a lot about you." Periston's friendliness gave Leo a sense of unease. More than that, Periston reminded him of himself, a mirror, reflecting a version of Leo he didn't like. "Haha, that's unexpected. I'm just surprised the vice chairman even knows my name," Leo replied cordially, matching his tone. Hee. Netaro watched the two exchange fake smiles and subconsciously tugged at his beard. Hiss. That hurts. Chapter 58. After watching the Pioneer set sail, Leo and Shizuku caught a ride back to the Hunter Association with Netaro. Coincidentally, Nobunaga and the others who had been out on a mission returned at the same time, and the two groups crossed paths at the entrance. "Chairman, finished with the farewell?" Morel asked while chewing popcorn. "Oh, I'm exhausted today. If you have questions, ask Leo," Netaro sighed as he walked past. "Chief. I'd better just call you Leo. Calling you Chief feels weird," Morel scratched his head awkwardly. No problem. But I'm a bit tired today. You guys can just watch the broadcast later. With that, Leo slipped past the crowd and entered the elevator. What's going on? Why are all the leaders avoiding us? Nav adjusted his glasses suspiciously. Something's wrong, isn't it? No. Shizuku replied, but said nothing more. She jumped into the elevator just before the doors closed. Safe. Shizuku stretched her arms to keep her balance, but maybe she used too much force. One of the buttons from her shirt shot off and hit Leo square in the forehead. Attempted murder? Leo stared at Shizuku, his expression accusatory and intense. Of course not. Kurapika's rules are still in place. We can't kill you, Shizuku said earnestly, her big indigo eyes completely serious. Leo had obviously been joking, but Shizuku had taken him literally. I knew it. I know why you always wear sweaters, your buttons fly off, don't they? Leo exclaimed. Shizuku turned away silently, covering her collar, and said nothing for a long while. It wasn't until they stepped out onto December's office floor that she finally muttered, exactly. Leo, who had originally intended to practice sword techniques, paused where he stood and thought, is her reaction time always this slow? Later, Leo retreated to his real sanctuary, the black space. Meanwhile, December's office was bustling. Nobunaga and Finks surrounded Shizuku, bombarding her with questions, while Morel and Nav shamelessly eavesdropped. Shizuku was either too honest or just incredibly straightforward. She answered every question without exaggeration, unlike Leo, who often embellished things. From her story, everyone learned that Leo and Pariston had practically started a brawl while chatting. Initially, the two got along like long-lost brothers. But Leo wasn't skilled in verbal sparring and quickly fell behind. Unable to argue, he responded physically. What started as a light shove soon escalated into a full-blown nen battle. Netero tried to intervene but got caught in the fray and, with his already bad mood, decided to join in. It was a chaotic free-for-all until Leo drew Dragon Sun, and the atmosphere turned deadly. Realizing things were going too far, the two elders teamed up to suppress him. Enraged, Leo unleashed Sword Zero. The resulting wave of sword energy turned the entire port into rubble, as if a typhoon had passed through. The police, responding to the commotion, nearly hauled them all off to jail. Fortunately, several friendly hunters vouched for them. Still, the repair costs for the port would have to be split among the three. He's already that strong? Nobunaga muttered. And that's not even full power. Leo can also enlarge his sword. Its destructive capacity is terrifying. I was nearly sliced in two the last time, Shizuku added nervously. Hey, Shizuku, why don't you seduce Leo? Finks said bluntly. Finks, Nobunaga snapped, warning him with his tone. Haha, you trained a monster and now you won't let anyone take it out? Don't be a hypocrite, Finks said mockingly, but he had a point. Nobunaga turned pale but quickly suppressed his emotions. I meant Shizuku doesn't have that kind of personality. Don't push her into something uncomfortable. Seduction? I could try. Shizuku responded emotionlessly. Forget it, Finks muttered, shaking his head. You don't think I can do it? Leo peeks at me sometimes. Shizuku protested. PFFT. Morel, who had been sipping tea nearby, couldn't help but spit it all over Nav. Sorry. I understand. I really do. Unlike the cheer at the association, the mood aboard the Pioneer, now at sea, was grim. Someone had died, barely half a day into the journey. As the face of the Pioneer group, Jin reluctantly took on the role of detective. But all signs pointed to suicide. After going through so much to reach this one-way expedition, someone chose to die? Jing didn't buy it. He had a bad feeling something deeper was going on. Did you do it? Among the crowd, beyond Netero stood tall, his presence immediately noticeable. Even among veteran pro hunters, he was clearly on a different level. I was planning to. I've been bored at the association lately, and just when I was looking for an 80-point opponent to pass the time, this happened. So I'm innocent. Hisoka blinked innocently, feigning harmlessness. Interesting. No trace left at the scene. Was it a ghost? Beyond Netero smiled, eager to see how Jing would handle this. Suddenly, a slender hand grabbed Beyond's sleeve. You're right. Beyond Netero froze. You really can't underestimate people. How'd you pull it off? What? The person asked, confused. Give me back my wallet. You can keep the money, it's your reward. Beyond remained calm, not at all like someone who had just been robbed. The woman blushed. You caught me? Sorry, I'm used to being paid in advance. So, will you do something for me now? Beyond asked, intrigued. No, but I can tell you who the murderer is. Who? A ghost. Beyond Netero's composure finally cracked. He'd assumed she was joking, but when he turned to look at her again, he became cautious. Because the woman before him didn't seem human. She had waterfall-length black hair, clear pupils, curved brows, and a gentle beauty reminiscent of East Asian features. She lacked an exaggerated figure, but behind her floated a disembodied head. At that moment, Beyond remembered his stolen wallet and suddenly said, No. You definitely touched me, I could feel it. Hello, my name is Mew. I'm a one-star relic hunter, she introduced simply. Beyond Netero. What's wrong with your body? Even with Gyo, I can't detect anything, he said curiously. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Why not ask the handsome guy over there if he can see me? Mew pointed to Hisoka. Hisoka? I can see her. She looks completely normal. Why are you so interested in her, Beyond? Hisoka asked, puzzled. Chapter 59. Seeing Hisoka react so calmly, Beyond Netero asked nearby hunters and confirmed that everyone could see Mew floating behind him. What is this? A new body for some emperor? Beyond Netero shook his head, then warned Mew softly, I don't care who, or what, you are. Stay away from me, or you'll regret it. Mew smiled. Under Beyond Netero's astonished gaze, she gently pushed him and said, Regret what, Beyond Netero? Who, or what, are you? Beyond Netero shouted. Hey! What's wrong with you? This guy is obviously an average person. Hisoka, shuffling cards at the edge, looked puzzled. To him, Mew seemed perfectly ordinary. But being on this ship was not something ordinary people could do, so why was Mew here? Click. Tell me, how will you help me? Beyond Netero asked after regaining his composure. Remember my first sentence? The killer is a ghost, Mew said with eerie confidence. And then? You got more insight. Eh? What else do you expect? A ghost. Beyond Netero turned away, appearing disinterested. Look, see that short guy over there? He's the captain of this ship. You've got the wrong person. Beyond pointed back at Jing. Jing? No way. Mew shook her head. Why firm? Beyond Netero decided Mew was the type to bully weaker minds, placing Jing above her, and Mew above herself. Haha, so I was underestimated. Beyond Netero laughed loudly, drawing attention, including Jing's. Beyond Netero. Long time no see, Jing greeted in a tone marked by many travel-worn experiences. It seemed they'd met before. Jing. Beyond Netero nodded, recalling something. Then his face shifted. What do you think of the guy behind me? Jing looked, but saw nothing and asked, You mean the hunters over there? Over there? Beyond Netero turned quickly, and saw Mew looking helpless and scandalized. What's your deal? Mew stuck out her tongue in a ghostly fashion. Only smart people can see me. Jing, you're obviously not smart. Beyond Netero mulled over this. He had to admit Jing was powerful, and one who had explored ruins alone was definitely no fool. He glanced at Hisoka and said, "What do you think of Miu's power?" I told you, she's completely ordinary," Hisoka sighed. Beyond Netero now understood, Miu seemed like a divine apparition to ordinary eyes, but to the strong, she was invisible, and useless. He considered Jing again. If Jing couldn't see Miu, how powerful must Jing be? "I've seen enough of your tricks, leave." Beyond Netero dismissed Miu coldly. "Tch, such a heartless man." Miu floated in front of Jing, flexing her fists, but Jing didn't react. With a sigh, she slowly drifted away. Beyond Netero, "Who were you talking to?" Jing called. "Jing, you're strong, so strong," Beyond Netero said, avoiding a direct answer. "Huh?" Jing watched Beyond walk away, puzzled. Then he turned to Hisoka and said, "Hello." "Hello, Jin Fulishi," Hisoka greeted, using Jing's full name. "Don't be so formal, just show me the money." No. I just like the name Jing Fulishi." Hisoka's tone turned sly, dangerous. He was another person Hisoka couldn't figure out, and also Kuroka's father. At this point, Hisoka was already aware of Kuroka, which was one reason he joined this trip to the Dark Continent. Kuroka was not someone to mess with. If someone seized his precious toy, Hisoka had to get it back. Jing could see Hisoka's intentions, and with the recent suicide, his head was throbbing. Trouble, he thought. Hunter Association? Black space. By now, the void beneath the office had expanded significantly. Leo's frequent use of Sword 1 kept inadvertently dug deeper, despite Netero warning him that, if he continued, the association might vanish from sight. Still, Leo ignored the warning. "Leo, the association just sent a message about the Pioneer. Want to check it?" Shizuku popped her head in. "Show me." Leo cared deeply about the Pioneer. He was slated to join its next voyage. The message contained only trivial details but mentioned a hunter who committed suicide. He scanned the attached photos, nothing seemed out of place. But, drawing on his experience from 1,000 episodes of Detective Conan, he knew this was fishy. One death in less than a day at sea, some kind of sign? If it were one death per day, the Pioneer could last 30 years. Not too shabby. Shizuku offered brightly. Leo rolled his eyes. With the Dark Continent? Don't be naive, it'll be like dumping people into boiling water, mass casualties. He closed the page, cracked open a Coke, and poured some into a glass. Glug. 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 Ha! A Coke after training, it really is true bliss. Shizuku looked doubtful and took a sip. "I don't feel anything." Leo opened his mouth to explain, but seeing Shizuku's unhappy expression, he swallowed his words. Ahem. Leo coughed loudly. "Everyone's out on missions. Want to go for a walk with me?" "Sure," Shizuku agreed. She didn't look like someone who enjoyed being cooped up. Ring ring ring. Leo's phone rang. He checked the screen. It was Sasaki, his old mentor. "Master? It's you. I thought someone from the regular school was calling. We do talk sometimes. What's up? Your son, on the Pioneer? Like a grandfather seeing his grandson off?" "No, nothing special. Just wanted to say goodbye. I know you're worried. But I've no good advice. By the way, what's his name?" "Oh, Sasaki. That sounds familiar." Question mark. Leo ended the call abruptly, then looked through the suicide victim's profile. His name was Sasaki too, from the Kingdom of Sylvia. "Master, your son had a ponytail and a scar on his right eye. That matches the photo I saw. I have to go now, talk later." Leo hung up, feeling awkward. Shizuku looked confused. He sighed. Let Nobunaga know that Sasaki is dead. Shizuku nodded earnestly. Don't worry, I'll remember. Remember? Leo recalled Shizuku's amnesia. Was she really qualified to remember things? Chapter 60. Leo and Shizuku left the Hunter Association together. This time, they were assigned to a protective mission in Netrona. Their client was a senior V5 executive, an influential woman in her 40s. Leo couldn't help but wonder why someone so prominent would need bodyguards, or whether there was some hidden purpose. Curiosity in mind, they took the newly built subway to Luo City. Luo City, adjacent to the Hunter Association, was surprisingly secure and spotlessly clean, clearly the work of a no-nonsense mayor. Shortly after exiting the subway, they spotted a sleek black stretch sedan, eerily reminiscent of a car driven by a wealthy American in Leo's previous life. The driver immediately recognized Leo, opening the door with professional courtesy. Leo nodded, and they climbed inside. Half an hour later, they arrived at the executive's residence, a majestic European-style chateau. Beyond the gate, numerous maids and butlers greeted them, all demonstrating Nen abilities, ionically but not subtly. Leo couldn't suppress his admiration. Were all noble households like this? With captive Nen users attending every salon? Mr. Leo, Miss Shizuku, this way please, a handsome butler resembling Sebastian pointed them along a winding path. Leo responded confidently. He knew imposing presence commanded respect. If he appeared timid, he'd be treated as cheap. They wound through the chateau before entering a vast bedchamber. Inside lay a robust woman on a grand black canopied bed. Clad in a black lace dress and glasses, her curly black hair and regal posture radiated power. Clearly, she favored black, from the furniture to her attire. Leo? I heard about your fight with Netero yesterday. Are you hurt? She inquired, concern in her voice. Thankfully, I'm fine. But the port's repair bill. That one stung, Leo replied playfully, showing no sign of nervousness. She laughed. You're amusing. Leo smirked, awaiting her next move. Would you like to serve me? She asked directly. Leo knew instantly this wasn't about protection. Netero knew, and was probably enjoying his predicament. Absolutely, it would be an honor to serve such a graceful lady. Her sharp eyebrows rose. She hadn't expected his eagerness. You agree? Yes, why wouldn't I? Leo feigned hurt. Ahem. His quip caused her to choke on her saliva. So that's your personality. Good, your life won't be dull. Remember my name, Daphne. She gestured for him to leave. The butler showed Leo to his quarters. Are we still hunters? Shizuku asked eagerly. Not anymore, Leo smiled mysteriously. He knew Netero wouldn't relinquish him. And he knew Daphne had deeper intentions. Evening arrived. The chateau's private dining hall was sumptuous. Maidens in ultra-revealing uniforms served a banquet across a 10-meter-long table laden with Western dishes, fried, raised, deep-fried. Leo's stomach rumbled, but as a guest, he dared not start before Daphne. Shizuku, less inhibited, dove right in. Leo watched enviously before taking his first bite. Daphne didn't arrive, so Leo discreetly inquired with a maid, Is Madame dining elsewhere? In her private chambers, sir. Leo grinned inwardly, no rules, no rush. He polished off more than half and sat back as dozens of plates were cleared away. The maid sized him up, yet his stomach remained impressively flat. Where did it all go? In truth, Leo usually ate sparingly. Meals bored him, he preferred high-energy snacks. But tonight, he ate to match time traveler expectations. Meanwhile, Shizuku quietly held back, knowing this wasn't a contest, no prize awaited her. I'm satisfied, half full, Leo declared proudly. Impressive. I've never seen someone put that away. Daphne entered the dining hall, clearly watching. Thank you. I just have a strong stomach. Oh, Daphne remarked, taking his words at face value. Leo chose not to explain the double meaning. Settling in well? Daphne asked, intent on winning his loyalty. It's great, especially the maids. Easy on the eyes. Daphne silently noted his tastes, appetite and desire. Good. Our maids are personally selected by me. If we're interested. Anything? Leo prodded. Yes. Daphne nodded tautly. Including relations between you and me? Leo ventured. Yes. Daphne's expression betrayed slight unease. Including? Fine. You may be with anyone here, except me. Daphne cut him off, voice icy. Leo lost his smile. Understood. You're out of my depth. Daphne relaxed her posture. Apology accepted. I have other matters, excuse me. As she glided away, Leo watched her figure sway and thought, if she tries to charm me, maybe I'll oblige. Satyr. Shizuku's abrupt shout startled Leo, banishing all unwanted thoughts instantaneously. Chapter 61. Leo seemed to have returned to the days when he lurked in the Noser family, slacking off every day, with it all permitted by his superiors. That freedom made many envious. But he also faced indirect criticism and exposure of weaknesses from the East. It felt as though they wouldn't relent until they got hold of Leo's secret vulnerabilities. Leo understood that these high-level circles relied on mutual exposure of weaknesses to maintain balance. Once you know someone's character flaw, you either keep them alive in the circle, or make them vanish when they step outside it. Naturally, Leo didn't want to disappear, but he also refused to be controlled. So, given the current situation, he had only two viable options. First, create an illusion that made Daphne think she held Leo's leverage, so he could manipulate events without resistance. Second, do nothing but respond to every move with equanimity. This could lead to a stalemate. After all, he had plenty of reserves and could endure for a while. There was a third strategy: charge forward, strike decisively, and reduce all conspiracies to ashes, but Leo wouldn't act rashly and had already dismissed that option. Now he was weighing whether to continue peacemaking with Daphne or secretly find a weakness he could wield. Weakness? Shizuku, do you think I have any fatal flaw? Leo knocked on the table, stirring the sleepy Shizuku. Shizuku rubbed her swollen, red-rimmed eyes and whispered, if you did, we'd have used it already. Leo nodded. The brigade had surely searched for his flaws, but come up empty. Then we need to invent a perfect weakness and hand it to Daphne. But what? Or maybe I use that tactic back at them. Abnormal. Shizuku replied, confusion all over her expression. She noticed Leo's mischievous look, and brandished a fire extinguisher reflexively. Shizuku. Then what weakness do you think I might have against you? Leo raised his voice, unbothered if the maids heard. I don't know, but I sure wouldn't let a man do that, Shizuku murmured, slipping back into the sofa cushions, nearly asleep. Found it, cried Daphne, remotely, from the far end of the castle. Ma'am, what do you mean? Asked the shadowy figure beside her. Shizuku, didn't you notice? Leo listens to her a lot, and Shizuku doesn't like Leo getting close to other women. Isn't that leverage? Kidnapping? Or poisoning? The shadowy advisor asked, how best to threaten Shizuku to control Leo. Daphne paused, gathering her thoughts. From experience, she knew Leo would respond more to subtlety than harsh tactics. Too brutal, and it'd backfire. Let's wait and see how he reacts. If he plays it tactfully, we can be gentler. Having decided, Daphne entered her dressing room and shed the black gown, revealing skin white as jade. Though over 40, her beauty remained fresh and tender. Time had not defeated her. A sleek black cheongsam and light makeup later, she emerged, satisfied. Meanwhile, Shizuku had fallen asleep on the sofa, and Leo was tapping away on his mobile, possibly chatting. Ding ding ding. Do come in, Leo said without glancing up. Daphne, always respectful, entered with proper etiquette. I'll be out for a while, she informed him. Understood, boss. Leo let Shizuku sleep, she finally dropped off. They traveled in silence. Daphne seemed to treat Leo as a silent protector. Leo, happy for the break, resumed playing on his phone. They arrived at a farm in the suburbs. Mumuken stopped the car. Leo felt his vigilance rise. Hunters had many ways to kill, even he wasn't invincible. Don't be nervous, I'm just here to visit the elders, Daphne said, breaking the silence. Leo replied, following her across the courtyard. Ding dong. A middle-aged man in his 40s answered the door. He shared Daphne's black hair, dark eyes, and solemn garb. Brother. Daphne greeted warmly. Sister, who's he? Asked Daphne's brother, his gaze on Leo. My new bodyguard, brother, please be kind. Daphne gestured at Leo. My dear brother, Dante. Hello, I'm Leo, he introduced himself politely. Ah, nice to meet you, Dante nodded in return. Leo looked at Daphne, confusion apparent. She quickly explained, he's not close to our family, no need to worry. Leo nodded. Ah, so he's the crooked-mouthed Dragon King. If Daphne ever needed help, she could summon hundreds of staff in an instant. Don't worry, my brother's actually a 2-star Dark Hunter, Daphne acknowledged, seeing Leo's thoughts. She underestimated how imaginative he could be. Oh, sorry, Leo smiled wryly, then noticed something odd. Dark Hunter? Hunting in the Dark Continent, Dante explained. He'd already guessed what his sister was thinking, and approved of Leo's strength. Could you explain more? Leo asked. After all, even Netero had been unaware of much V5 activity. Let's start 200 years ago, with the Dark Continent Blockade Agreement. All info and benefits from that land were exclusively shared by V5 countries. That's how the Dark Hunter profession emerged, Daphne elaborated. Leo absorbed the context. After discovering the Dark Continent, V5 craved power, but didn't want outsiders sharing in it, so they sealed it off. A very capitalist move. Suddenly, Leo thought of greedy Haigong and asked, do you know the center of darkness? Daphne momentarily flickered, but replied, you must mean Lake Mobius, it sits deep within the Dark Continent. Leo brightened. Could you give me more details about Lake Mobius? Right here, Daphne pointed at the ground beneath their feet. Leo gasped, it wasn't distant. He realized the human world lay in the heart of the Dark Continent. The seas encircling them were merely another lake. He imagined that Togashi compared Neon to the hunter world. Wasn't this country actually Leo's province? What a warped taste, old thief. He muttered. Huh? What did you say? Daphne asked, catching only a fragment. I said, this damn thief god made the world so messed up. Is it because of Mahjong he's holding back? Daphne laughed, her figure in the black cheongsam swaying gently. How could that be? Even if a god exists, he wouldn't play Mahjong. Not necessarily, Leo teased back. Chapter 62. Leo followed the siblings into the courtyard. As they passed a green egg-shaped object, he stopped and asked in surprise, is this a nuclear substance? Daphne nodded. Thanks to the action logs from Greed Island, we discovered these cores hidden in the ruins, and what's sealed inside them. So, what's so special about this egg? As you can see, the yard is full of green plants and fresh air. Leo took a deep breath and sensed the difference. It was subtle, but his aura was a bit unsteady. He asked, could this egg help people awaken their Nen abilities? It can, But it takes time and has a limited range. So we use it to train our subordinates, Daphne answered without hesitation. Dante didn't seem interested. He instead urged, "All right, let's check out the new signpost." Hearing this, Leo looked ahead and saw a massive sand table, spanning over 100 square meters, displaying detailed terrain, mountains, rivers, and more. "Is this the Dark Continent?" Leo asked. "Yes, mapped by a gatekeeper. This is the latest signpost. By the way, you've been to the NGL Autonomous Region, right?" Daphne's face stayed neutral, giving nothing away. Leo couldn't guess her thoughts. Why bring up NGL? The only notable thing there had been the chimera ants. "Don't overthink. I already erased all traces of your involvement. Don't ask why something from the Dark Continent would appear in a tech-free nation. All I can say is, it was part of someone's plan, but you disrupted it. That's why I want to recruit you." Daphne's explanation clarified things. The chimera ants had been a trap, likely targeting Chairman Netero, and NGL was merely collateral damage. "You people are really hard to like," Leo said sincerely. "Well, don't think too much. There are things I dislike too," Daphne admitted, helplessly. "Back to business, Leo. Since you disrupted the plan, things are easier now. The chimera ants are ranked B class, which is fair. I'm talking about the 3 royal guards and the Ant King. Don't be surprised, even V5 would have resorted to self-detonation tactics against them. And not with bombs, human bombs. Your appearance made me see potential for humanity. There's a saying, ignorance is bliss. But knowing too much means no such blessing. We've been exposed to the truths of the world, and parts of the Dark Continent, since childhood. Some people see the Dark Continent as a cake to carve up and plunder. But I'm not that naive. Power is the only foundation. If even a mere B-class disaster requires so many sacrifices, what right do we have to divide and plunder anything?" Daphne said passionately. Leo remained silent, deep in thought. The ants were only B-class? He'd assumed that rank applied only to the queen. But if even the king was classified that way, then perhaps he had underestimated how high the danger scale could go. The Ant King was immensely powerful. I only survived because he was born prematurely. If he had matured, I might not have won, Leo said seriously. "Ha, but you're alive, and he's not. Potential doesn't matter if you're dead," Dante commented. He was also a martial artist and had once longed to face the Ant King, but his status didn't allow such risk. The family had already handed over all external duties to his sister Daphne. His only remaining task was to continue the bloodline, so combat was off limits. Leo glanced at Dante. The man's complex expression revealed his own burdens. "So, you want to talk to me?" Leo asked. The siblings shook their heads simultaneously. Daphne explained, "We want to invite you to join our expedition to mine the Dark Continent." Leo chuckled. After all that, they still just wanted to use him as a tool. "You don't want to? Understand, if you go to the Dark Continent, the boss can grant you privileges and treatment no one else gets," Daphne added with a frown. In her calculations, Leo should have accepted already. What was going wrong? Don't get me wrong. I once promised the 9th Prince of Kokken that if he boarded the ship, I'd give him priority, Leo replied. Prince Haukenberg? That group is a bunch of lunatics. Daphne softened her tone. Besides, they've already departed, and I doubt any of them will return. Why? There are signs that Prince Haukenberg's group is migrating to the Dark Continent. They took far too much treasure on that voyage. Leo was stunned. So that's why Daphne called them crazy, they had left behind safety to walk into hell. Well? Will you consider my offer now? All right. I'll consider it, Leo said sincerely. Ha ha. Dante suddenly burst out laughing. You two sound like you're on a blind date. Brother. Ahem. After leaving Dante's home, Daphne lapsed into silence. Leo dared not say much. He quietly distanced himself. After all, he had flirted with her earlier. He didn't mind the age gap. But what if something really did develop? What would he do? But that was just Leo's inner panic. Daphne wasn't thinking of any of that. She hadn't yet told Leo the whole truth about the Dark Continent. There were still key facts she hesitated to reveal, fearing they might scare him off. Like the 5 great calamities, or the races listed as A-class threats by V5. When Leo returned to the castle and entered the bedroom, Shizuku was gone. He looked at Daphne with concern. "She's okay, right?" "I think so. I'll go check," Daphne answered and quickly ran out. Could the shadow figure have acted without orders? But the shadow figure denied involvement, claiming he hadn't seen Shizuku leave. Almost simultaneously, Leo expanded his end to cover the entire castle. Panic gripped everyone. It felt like the sword of Damocles hung above them. Daphne looked visibly uneasy. She had clearly underestimated Leo's strength, and overestimated her own. Shizuku's disappearance was no accident. Someone had framed Daphne, or they intended to use Shizuku to control Leo. "Ha, Shizuku. Go in peace, I will avenge you," Leo suddenly shouted, his voice cold and resolute. The entire castle heard it. It was a warning from Leo. He knew that the captor, or someone related, was still within the castle. And now they knew. If Shizuku wasn't returned safely, there would be vengeance. Chapter 63. Leo sat on the sofa that Shizuku usually used as a bed, his face indifferent. Daphne had already left, warning that she wouldn't return until he found Shizuku. Leo didn't know if she meant it, but he was certain, Shizuku must be on the ship headed for the Dark Continent. They were forcing him to become a tool. Ring ring ring. Moshi Moshi, Chairman? Something went wrong with the mission? All right, I understand. Leo put the phone down. Netero had informed him that all missions assigned in December had gone awry. That likely meant everyone had been placed on a ship, like Shizuku. Hey. Leo gave a soft chuckle. If he kept quiet, would everyone close to him suffer accidents? I'll be away for a while. Please inform Daphne, Leo said to the maid by the door. Aren't you in a hurry? The maid's response was out of character. Leo immediately understood, she was connected to Shizuku's disappearance. Maybe even her kidnapper. And yet, she made no effort to hide. Or perhaps they had more cards to play, and felt no need to conceal their hand. Oh? Isn't being alive wonderful? Leo said lightly. Then he casually drew Dragon's Son and killed the maid in a single stroke, not even allowing her last words. You thought I'd obey like some puppet? I'm not that kind of man, Leo muttered to the empty room. He no longer needed to compromise. His confidence stemmed from his power, and his sword was the path forward. After leaving the room, Leo summoned another maid, calmly explained, and asked her to clean up the body. But she asked, are you really not afraid that they'll die? TCH. Leo was taken aback. If Daphne was truly innocent in this, then she was terribly unlucky. I don't want to hear nonsense. Leave, or die. He raised Dragon's Son as he spoke. The maid, however, acted like a robot, her movements sluggish, her gaze lifeless. We could kill one to ease your stress. Which one do you prefer? The busty girl or the one with purple hair? Leo paused. These maids weren't behaving normally. This was definitely the operations department's style. The purple-haired one, he said thoughtfully. You really killed her? The maid asked, her voice tinged with disbelief. Kill them. We've lost our leverage now, so it's you who should be afraid, Leo said coldly. Where are you going? After a moment, the maid changed the subject. To any V5 ally, Leo replied. For what? To train with the sword. As he spoke, Leo drew Dragon Sun and activated Sword Intent. A massive blade of light, hundreds of meters long, burst forth, obliterating the castle in a single instant. Maids and butlers scattered in panic, as if escaping an earthquake or tsunami. Only two remained calm, Leo, and the maid before him. But the voice on the other end of the maid's earpiece was raging. Maniac! I told you not to provoke him, how can we fix this now? Should we release them? Wait. Let's assess the damage. Has the assassin I hired arrived yet? The Zoldyck family has refused to take further commissions involving him. They say it's payment for saving their heir. Humph. They're just afraid of him. There's still Unit 7 in Lua City. Should we try them? No. That would be a full declaration of war. If he's stronger than Netero, are you ready to bet your life? Then what do we do? Talk to him. Back on the castle grounds, the maid in front of Leo finally spoke after a long silence. We can guarantee Shizuku's safety. If you board the ship we assign, you'll see them alive. And then? Leo asked. And then? The maid seemed genuinely confused. If there's no then, I'm leaving. Leo turned and walked away. No matter how loudly the maid shouted behind him, no matter what deal she offered, he ignored her. But when he tried to board the airship, he was denied access. Leo tossed his hunter license to the ground with a smirk and said to the airship operator, "You people, with your great houses and big names, I have nothing to lose." The operator, stunned like the maid before him, quickly bowed. "I apologize for what happened in December. That wasn't my doing. Organizations have all sorts, some people look down on others. Please, don't lower yourself to their level." Leo said nothing, simply stared at him coldly. "We can release Shizuku now. But know this, if we could capture her once, we could do it again. Let's not escalate things." After saying that, the operator's demeanor changed. He ignored Leo and resumed his work. With his goal met, Leo had no reason to make trouble. He returned home. But as he left the castle, Sword Intent had not dissipated, so a floating castle still hovered in the sky. As a result, the people of Lua City could all see it, a gleaming silver sword rising into the air, bearing an enormous castle above the clouds. When Daphne finally learned what had happened, she rushed home. What she found was a plot of land full of low-ceilinged bungalows. She recognized it immediately, it was the first floor of her home. Before she could ask what had happened to the upper floors, she saw the castle floating hundreds of meters overhead. After summoning a steward, she got the full story. But really, who could she blame for this absurd scene? "Yo!" Leo's voice rang out behind her. She turned stiffly. "You dare show your face?" "Why not? I just went out for a walk. I'm feeling much better," Leo said casually. Daphne pointed at the floating castle. "This is what you call fine?" "Fine, I admit, I messed up and let high-level operatives sneak into my house. But did you really have to blow it up?" "Just roll with it. Blame them, not me," Leo replied with a wry smile. "True. Those bastards are obsessed with immortality," Daphne muttered, her anger softening as her attention shifted. "Immortality?" Leo asked curiously. "Why else do you think they're mining the Dark Continent? And they need someone like you to deal with the gatekeeper of the Fountain of Youth, the universal water," Daphne said, clearly disgusted. "Oh? So what do you want me to do?" Leo asked. Chapter 64. Daphne hesitated for a moment, then confessed with slight embarrassment, "The rejuvenating grass. 100 years ago, a dark hunter from our family accidentally consumed it, and his appearance hasn't changed to this day." "Oh, a woman's secret, huh? I'm over 40 now. Even with the best skincare, wrinkles still come. Is it too much to wish for a herb that keeps you youthful? Is there really such a thing? Leo stepped closer, eyeing Daphne's alluring face with curiosity. Daphne unconsciously stepped back, covering her face shyly. Don't look. Pervert. That familiar voice made Leo spin around immediately and walk away from Daphne in small, embarrassed steps. Shizuku. I'm so glad you're okay. Well, I woke up and realized I'd been kidnapped. Did they ask you for ransom? Shizuku pulled out a bank card. I told them not to ask you, I had money, but nobody listened. They asked for 50 billion. Is this card enough to cover it? Leo smiled. He might even profit from this fiasco. Huh? Am I worth that much? Shizuku asked curiously. Alright, enough joking. Let's talk about rebuilding my house. That castle cost more than 50 billion, Daphne grumbled. Leo looked up at the crumbling castle, bricks still falling from the sky. His head throbbed. Was this a total loss? He carefully began to disperse his sword intent, trying to stabilize the floating structure. He used his end to maintain balance and achieve a near-perfect fit as the structure came back down. But what's broken can't always be fixed. Despite his efforts, some parts were simply gone. So when the castle finally touched down, it tilted slightly, leaning westward toward the setting sun. It's still livable after a few repairs, Leo said reluctantly. Forget it. We'll build a new one, Daphne sighed. I'll help. Mixing mortar, hauling bricks, anything, Leo offered, patting his chest. Humph. You won't need to pay, Daphne snorted. Oh, thank goodness. Leo breathed a sigh of relief. His assets were even less than Shizuku's. If he had to pay damages, he might have to sell himself. Luckily, Daphne was loaded and generous. I've asked the servants to patch the cracks. The construction crew will start on a new place next door tomorrow. Just stay here tonight, Daphne said after settling everything. I'm fine. Nothing can crush me anyway. My skin's too thick, Leo joked. I don't think I'd be afraid of pressure either, Shizuku added thoughtfully. Daphne froze when she heard that, her chest rising and falling in anger. Say something nice, will you? Night fell. The moon shone bright. The stars were sparse. Magpies flew south. Given Leo's destructive power, and Daphne's new caution, all the servants in the castle were forced to undergo inspection. 13 spies were uncovered. Their bodies were in a half-living, half-dead state. Without commands, they acted like normal people. But once activated, their consciousness vanished, and they became puppets. Daphne didn't interrogate them. She simply had them buried. Some things didn't need to be said aloud, everyone understood. When do we leave? Leo asked. I told you, you'll get the best privileges. You decide, Daphne said. Clearly, the recent chaos had convinced Leo to act. How about next year? Leo offered. Next year? Are you serious? By then, someone else will have seized the opportunity. Daphne asked in disbelief. Leo scratched his head. That was my original idea, but we can move it up. Let's go next month. I think I'm about to break through in my nen training. I'll survive better in the Dark Continent then. This time, Daphne had no objection. It was already mid-month, she could wait 10 or 15 more days. So, what do you need for training? Leo thought for a moment. Maybe a chemistry teacher. Seriously. Chemistry? Yeah. I've got questions about the principles behind the transmutation system. Daphne looked at Leo for a long moment. Then she raised a finger, and aura flowed from her body, condensing into a ball of water. Is this what you mean? Yes, Leo exclaimed. He hadn't been mistaken, that fluid was Daphne's nen. After touching it, he became even more certain, the woman before him was a master nen user. Her nen was special. It had the flow of water but the density of a solid, semi-fluid in nature. This is my ability, water stone. It can flow like water or be hard as rock, Daphne explained. It didn't take Leo long to understand how it could be applied. So, Miss Daphne, you're into whips? You guessed it. It took over a year to perfect this ability. The best use I found was forming it into a whip, Daphne said proudly. Haha, I've seen that before, Leo thought to himself. I meant the whip. Looks could be deceiving. This beautiful woman was clearly a tentacle monster in disguise. Leo couldn't help wondering. Could she entertain herself with it? But the thought quickly vanished. Daphne demonstrated, rather vividly, that she was no ordinary woman. Leo, caught off guard, was snared by the fluid-like tentacles and suspended in midair, limbs spread wide. Bang! The sound of a whip cracking echoed. Within seconds, Leo's coat was shredded into fluttering threads. But thanks to his incredible durability, his skin remained unscathed, even if the scene itself looked highly questionable. Boss Daphne? What kind of lesson is this? A cold whip? Leo asked, confused. Nothing much. I was just venting. I didn't expect your body to be so unyielding. You know, my whip can slice steel, Daphne said, admiring his body. But she didn't stop. A strange satisfaction grew in her expression. What are you doing? Shizuku burst in at the sound, and saw a woman with a whip, and Leo, mostly in underwear. It's nothing. I just wanted him to feel transmutation-type nen physically. Don't misunderstand, Daphne said, turning and walking away, her steps a little slower than usual. Once she left, the tentacles vanished. Leo dropped to the floor and immediately called a butler. Get me a tuxedo. Leo, don't you think you've gotten lazy compared to before? Shizuku asked meaningfully. Leo knew she meant he hadn't taken a proper job in ages. But wasn't he doing all this just to survive? Chapter 65. Leo had never expected that this high-ranking V5 official would turn out to be such a skilled teacher. At the very least, she was far better than Jing. In fact, she might even rank first among all of Leo's instructors. The transmutation system is about giving aura properties it doesn't originally possess. So first, you must understand the property you want to bestow. Like my water stone nen, it combines characteristics of both solids and fluids. So, before I could master it, I had to understand both those states of matter. The essence of nen is chi, or more precisely, the aggregation of life particles. Just as our bodies are made of cells, nen abilities are structured from these particles. It's a scientific and meticulous subject, and should be approached with logic. Let's talk about transmutation. It's a broad category with many branches. You have to narrow your focus. Since you're working on ice, that falls under temperature alteration. Turning air into ice involves condensation. That's your core challenge. Leo listened attentively. When Daphne paused, he raised his hand excitedly. Teacher Daphne, I've already managed to change temperature, but forming cold air, or solid ice, is where I'm stuck. Daphne set down her teacup. It had served its purpose in moistening her throat. To be honest, the hardest part of cold-type nen is the temperature shift. I tried once myself but failed. All I managed was a water-like stone nen imitation. You've already overcome that hardest hurdle, but stalled just before the finish line. Fascinating, she said with genuine amazement. Leo gave an awkward laugh. Changing the temperature came from instinct, but everything after that feels foggy and unclear. Instinct. The most unscientific human trait. They skip the process and leap straight to conclusions, Daphne sneered. Then she added, still, congratulations. You've got the feeling. Now you just need a full understanding of ice. Understanding? Leo echoed doubtfully. Thanks to King, he could recite theoretical definitions by heart. At that moment, a shadowy figure appeared from the corner of the room. He bowed to Daphne and said, "Madam, the materials have arrived." "Good. Come," Daphne gestured to Leo. Following the shadow, Leo arrived at the castle's kitchen cold storage. When the metal door opened, Leo found himself facing a room filled with ice. "This is what you're missing. Go in," Daphne instructed. "Ice?" "Yes. All transmutation and conjuration types must learn through the body, not the mind." Pioneer. The massive ship, having broken away from the human world, now sailed the endless waters of Lake Mobius. Jing had just finished a conversation with his guide, and uncovered some dark truths. For instance, the ocean they sailed wasn't really an ocean. It was just a lake. All along the journey, Jing had wrestled with a single question: where is the center of darkness? Through the conversation, an idea had slowly formed: could Lake Mobius itself be a Mobius strip? What if the Mobius strip were a lake? Flip it 180 degrees and join the ends, and you'd have a ring with no clear front or back. Was that the secret of the Dark Continent? Jing wasn't sure. But if it was true, then Killua might be somewhere on the underside of the human world. The underground world? Jing dismissed that. No, more like an abstract concept. Perhaps an abyssal plane. After all, darkness and the abyss go hand in hand. Normally, Jing would find such thoughts amusing. But ever since learning that his child was possessed by an unknown entity, his heart ached. "Jing, I've found some leads about the hunter who died earlier," said Razor, approaching him. "What?" Jing asked distractedly. "The hunter named Sasaki, he was likely murdered." "Why?" "After hacking into his phone, we found a photo. It was of an egg." Razor showed the image, a purple patterned egg. "That's a core egg, same size as Leo's, but with different color and markings," Jing confirmed. He hadn't waited a month just to ask Leo about the past. He was determined, ever since Chairman Netero had mentioned that Leo possessed a similar egg. So, Sasaki may have been possessed, like Pakinoda, but his body wasn't the real target. Or the entity can survive without one, Jing speculated. "What do we do now?" "Check the head count. Cross-reference names. I want to know who on the Pioneer doesn't belong," Jing said coldly. He had no fondness for these ruined cores. Over 2 weeks passed. It was now March 1, 2000. In Leo's past life, this would have been the start of the school term. Even in the hunter world, ordinary life carried on, despite world-changing events. Leo had stayed in the cold storage chamber for a full 2 weeks. Thanks to his Nen reserves, he had survived without harm, but still needed food. Most of the cold storage ice had been consumed. But that overconsumption was also why his ice manipulation ability had advanced so rapidly. He completed the blueprint for his technique, Sword 3. Now all that remained was refinement, through sparring and combat. As he pushed open the metal door, sunlight spilled in. In the kitchen, Shizuku was gnawing on a pig's trotter. Seeing him, she asked, "So? How'd it go?" Instead of replying, Leo took the trotter from her hand, and turned it into a block of ice. "As you can see, frozen pork knuckle. Go to hell." After a brief spat, they returned to their familiar rhythm, Leo walking in front, Shizuku trailing behind. A new castle had already been constructed. Led by a maid, Leo and Shizuku entered the eastern bedchamber. Upon seeing Leo, surprise flickered in Daphne's eyes. She hadn't expected him to master cold-type Nen in just 2 weeks. As expected. "A real monster," she murmured. "Me? Not at all. It's all thanks to your teaching," Leo replied modestly. "So, can we depart now?" "Yeah," Leo said, noting how Daphne seemed eager to get moving. "Hey hunters. Break time. And no fun fact. 'Cause I'm running out and I'm not gonna spend them on bits lots of people won't watch." Sue, just stare at the wall for 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Great. Now let's keep going. Chapter 66. After developing his cold-type Nen, Leo felt a chill throughout his entire body. His temperature had dropped by several degrees. Are you turning into a cold-blooded animal? Shizuku asked with a frown beside him. This is just the side effect of cold Nen. I'm trying to find a way to counter it, Leo said as he rubbed his arms vigorously until they were red, but still, he felt no warmth. You could try using Ju, suggested Satz. At that moment, all members of December were gathered there, except Hatton and Rodman, who had already boarded the Pioneer. They were currently inside the belly of a giant steel whale, along with 5,000 assistants and 1,000 servants, all under Daphne's command. Miss Daphne, I didn't expect you to come in person, said Leo, a hint of suspicion flashing in his eyes. Haha, don't you get it yet? Your escort mission has just begun, Daphne replied with a sly smile. Leo immediately realized he'd been played by Chairman Netero. So the chairman knew I'd say yes to your offer? What kind of deal do you two have? Daphne only smiled in silence. Seeing that, Leo could only glare at her. Hey! Shizuku, over here! Finks called out sneakily. Wah! Before Shizuku could finish, she was surrounded by several phantom troop members. Finks, fallen from favor? Nobunaga, who's the woman? Maki, he's even stronger now? Shizuku looked from one to the next, unsure how to respond. Finally, she frowned and said, I don't know what fallen from favor means. The woman is the backer, Daphne. Leo just mastered transmutation type Nen, and yeah, he's gotten stronger again. The expressions of the troop members turned complicated. What they truly cared about was Leo's strength. For someone like him, mastering Nen was as easy as breathing, casual, effortless. What about the kidnapping? Shizuku nodded. They did it to force Leo into going to the Dark Continent. Ha! The troop is now just meat on a chopping board, said Finks, bitterly. Let's just take it one step at a time. Most of them still didn't fully grasp the dread and strangeness of the Dark Continent. In fact, hardly anyone on the submarine truly understood. Leo didn't speak with Daphne long. She soon left, using her skincare routine as an excuse. He wandered the submarine aimlessly. Ah! A familiar voice made Leo turn. Illumi, his head covered in embedded needles, had appeared. You're here too? I'm part of the Nether Squad. Killua boarded Kaken's ship recently, and I'm worried, said Illumi. Leo nodded. It was suspicious. And Leo, did you forget something? Illumi added. Leo looked at the beaded head, puzzled. Forget what? Dad said to come by our house once night fell. You're quite the busy guy, Illumi reminded him. Oh, right. Silva. So, I brought those things to you instead. Otherwise, I wouldn't have boarded this submarine. Dark ships are cheap these days. Leo nodded. It was the age of discovery. Every major group had built a vessel to explore the unknown. The shipyards were profiting handsomely, but Leo wasn't sure if the guides earned enough to make it worthwhile. How much? Leo asked. The Zoldyck family never did anything for free. It's free, Illumi said with a mysterious smile. Aren't you happy? Leo licked the corner of his mouth and smiled, but the air around him began to frost over. The cold in his smile felt lethal. Are you joking? The only price, Illumi added, trembling slightly from the creeping cold, is to protect Killua if you find him. You're going to. Someone else commissioned me. Leo sighed. If you're that worried, why let him go to the Dark Continent? Illumi shrugged. He took Aluka with him. Leo understood. A lot must have gone down in the Zoldyck household. Illumi retrieved a password-protected box from a fellow hunter and handed it to Leo. Also, do you know if there's any soil on this ship? Soil? Leo blinked. No idea. Why? Without soil, I can't sleep properly. Pioneer. Since they had set off a full month before Leo, they were already more than halfway across Lake Mobius. Jing and the greedy squad were interrogating a man named Mew, who had appeared out of nowhere. I already told you, a water ghost killed him. It wasn't me, Mew said. Repeated exactly. Same tone. Same emotion. Razor sighed and translated for Jing. Are you the core of the ruins? What are you? Jing asked. Ruins? You mean my tomb? Mew replied and gestured for Razor to relay it. Tomb? So the core is the tomb's owner? To be precise, it's a resurrection tomb, popular in my time. It preserved souls for resurrection. The core you mention is the protective shell. Razor repeated this, clearly confused. Jing looked puzzled too, but quickly regained composure. Resurrection. That explains the possessions. Oh? You guys? You know others like me? Tell me, I might recognize them. Razor relayed the question. The Island of Greed. Black aura, wings, ability to plunder time, Jing summarized. Oh him. Who? Razor asked, eyes wide. He didn't need to pass that on, Jing had already figured it out. Mammon. Nasty guy. Knowing the enemy's true name, Jing let out a long breath. He believed rescuing his son was now a matter of time. What are his traits? Weaknesses? Mew answered without hesitation, tricky ability, but nothing special if you know his real name. His power is ineffective on those without greed. The more greedy you are, the longer you're affected. After relaying this, Razor watched Jing fall into thought. Jing considered Biscuit. Greedy, yes, but that came with seniority. After all, what hunter isn't greedy? Chapter 67. Leo walked alone down the corridor of the submarine, the underwater world clearly visible through its specially designed windows. The first thing that caught his eye was a colossal plesiosaur, nearly 30 meters long and 7 meters high, gliding majestically along the seabed. Its colorful scales shimmered with a mysterious beauty, evoking a sacred and untouchable aura. Surrounding it were all manner of bizarre and fantastical sea creatures, a 10-meter-long purple seahorse, a stunning mermaid, a formidable dragon turtle, a pure white sea serpent, and a two-headed great white shark. It was dazzling. But the voyage itself was excruciatingly dull. Even with the daily spectacle of magical creatures, the repetitive routine wore him down. Luckily, Leo had made progress on Sword 3. In fact, his focus was so deep, time seemed insufficient. June 20, 2000, Human Calendar. After more than 100 days at sea, the submarine finally half-surfaced. Leo stepped onto the deck, inhaling the salty tang of the ocean breeze. How's that special move coming along? Daphne asked, appearing behind him in a stylish swimsuit. Leo didn't dare turn around. The way Daphne loomed behind him felt unusually hot and dangerous. I finished developing Sword 3, but this environment isn't ideal for refining it. Taka says we'll reach the end of the world in 2 days, Daphne said, settling beside Leo on the sun-scorched deck without a care. Taka was from a clan of gatekeepers. Ever since the recent lift of the darkness blockade, their clan's gate had nearly been overwhelmed. Leo had been curious about the gatekeeper, but the man was aloof, seemed to dislike humans, and rarely left the captain's room. Is the end of the human world the same as the Dark Continent? Leo asked. No. No one actually knows where the Dark Continent begins. Do you understand the concept of a planet? Leo nodded. Then did you know that Lake Mobius could be an entire planet? Her words hit like thunder, and Leo was visibly stunned. So, we're heading into Another world? Daphne nodded. It's just a hypothesis. We're limited by unknown forces, we can't leave this world. But even so, V5 never stopped their space programs. Unfortunately, every pro-war ship that's breached the atmosphere has vanished without a trace. Damn. Leo took a deep breath. How deep a pit had FJ set for him? If the Dark Continent was a different world, then was this world once normal, like his past life? Maybe all the changes were caused by some interference from the darkness. So, they're the gatekeepers? Leo asked. Daphne gave him an approving glance. Yes. They guard the threshold of the dark world. Are you saying? They're not from our world. They're from the Dark Continent. Seriously? In fact, all abnormal humans are connected to it. Ever heard of the Corta clan? Their ancestor once ventured into the Dark Continent, the Scarlet Eyes manifested after his return. The whole clan was wiped out, Leo said sadly. Daphne rolled her eyes. No. The ones slaughtered by the Phantom Troop were only one branch. What? Leo was shocked. He didn't recall Kurapika having any surviving relatives. Ha! Do you know how many years V5 has ruled the world? Except for a few families, almost no one escapes their grasp. Of course, people like Netero, and you, are exceptions. Are you saying V5 secretly imprisoned other Corta survivors? Daphne nodded. It was the kind of move V5 pulled often, framing it as conservation of endangered species. Leo chuckled bitterly. What would Kurapika think if he found out? Laugh or cry? The Scarlet Eyes are part of your research? Leo asked. Daphne pressed her index finger to Leo's lips, silencing him. Leo paused, then suddenly stuck out his tongue and licked her finger. Humph. No wonder Shizuku keeps calling you a pervert, Daphne muttered with mock disdain, pulling her hand back. I've been craving strange things lately. Just instinct, Leo mumbled apologetically. Oh? Want to try something real? Nope. I'm good. As Leo ran off, Daphne burst into laughter, shaking with amusement. But when his silhouette finally disappeared from view, her laughter ceased. Her expression turned pained, and she stared silently ahead toward their destination. The Pioneer and the Kaken Empire's ship had both reached the edge of darkness just ahead of Leo's group. But many passengers disappeared after disembarking, and those who stayed behind seemed to forget they ever existed. Jing led a large team that had set up camp along the coast, and encountered Kaken's party. Their leader was a noblewoman, Camilla Greypot. Hunter? She asked, her voice elegant and commanding. Hello. I'm Jing Freaks, leader of the Hunters, he said, extending his hand. But Camilla snapped open her lace fan and slapped his hand away. You? A mere hunter? And you dare defile the future sovereign of the Kaken Empire with those filthy fingers? Who are you? Razor, standing behind Jing, nearly acted out. His aura burst forth like a storm, flooding the entire coastline. Razor. Jing's shout reeled him in. The volatile aura dissipated. Jing turned back to Camilla. Hunters aren't high and mighty. I'm no exception, I'm just a father who lost his son. Then, his voice hardened, but, Lady Camilla, I'm in a very bad mood. If you'd like to make it worse, I wouldn't mind playing with you. Camilla remained composed. She had been startled by Razor's power, and suspected Jing was even more dangerous. Hunter Association. Perhaps they could be of use. She smiled, exuding charisma. Forgive me, Mr. Jing. I've suffered from mysophobia since childhood, so, no handshake. But perhaps we could cooperate. How? I need help expanding my domain. In return, I'll grant you priority access to treasures. Priority and territory expansion? Jing repeated. Say yes, Jing. Came a familiar voice, Beyond Netero emerged from the delegation. As he reached Jing, he whispered, "Don't you want to find your son? Wouldn't having a stable power base help?" Jing eyed Beyond warily. He knew the man always had hidden motives, but the logic was sound. After all, Beyond was the leader of this expedition for a reason. "It's a pleasure doing business." Jing withdrew his offered hand. Camilla smiled. Likewise. Chapter 68. Leo, enjoying some sun on the deck, was summoned back into the submarine. At the cabin door, he saw many others returning as well. "What's going on?" Leo called to Illumi, who was clad in beachwear. "Have you looked at the box yet? It's extremely dangerous right at the boundary between the human world and the Dark Continent," Illumi said, removing his sunglasses and slipping them into his pocket. "Sorry, I've been deep into Nen practice and completely forgot about it," Leo admitted, embarrassed. These past days felt like his intense training days in Kilvia, monotonous, yet rewarding enough to make him neglect everything else. "You need to be more dependable. Dad said I must stick with you until Killua is found, so don't lead me into trouble," Illumi warned, boarding the cabin via the silver steel ladder. Leo chuckled and followed. Once everyone was aboard, the crew locked the cabin. Moments later, the submarine entered a whirlpool and began to roll violently. Thanks to others with Nen, no one was injured. After a few tense minutes, the vessel stabilized, and Taka, the gatekeeper, appeared. "You can log in now," he said. Leo's eyes lit up. Taka appeared to be a burly man in his 30s, but Leo knew better. He wasn't fully human, perhaps some Dark Continent hybrid or humanoid creature. He was powerful, and exuded a predator's aura. "Are gatekeepers all combat specialists?" Leo asked. "Most have unique abilities," Illumi replied. He nodded toward Daphne, who was preparing. Sensing his gaze, Leo ended the conversation and approached Daphne. "After you log in, any specific mission for me?" Daphne looked tense. "Continue your escort mission, but it'll be brief. 3 days tops." "What's the hurry?" Leo asked, puzzled. They were about to cross into the Dark Continent. Even another day in this state could be fatal for Daphne. She gave a bitter smile. "Why shouldn't I be anxious? My father has been gone over 20 years. So, your family?" It never ended. Since the agreement 2 centuries ago, the Dong family only produces dark hunters. All male members vanish on the Dark Continent as moths to flame. She looked pained, but that legacy left benefits. Their brothers had helped map parts of the Dark Continent, preserving the Dong lineage. "Have any returned?" "Of course," Daphne answered quietly. "My grandfather ventured with Netero. But the chairman said he was the only survivor." Daphne sighed. "I shouldn't have asked." At that moment, a dark figure emerged behind her. "This is my grandfather. Though he died in the Dark Continent, his soul returned, and now serves as our guardian spirit." "What else would you like to know?" Daphne asked, her voice strained. "No, that's enough," Leo said, waving off more questions. Bite. A sudden prompt interrupted. It was a broadcast. "The journey is over. Please prepare your luggage. You have 30 minutes. Panic erupted in the cabin. Though they were hunters and elite guards, everyone's attention now focused on one thing: entering the Dark Continent. To them, it was a limitless goldmine begging to be claimed. "Excuse me." Leo pushed through the crowd. He carried many items: a golden egg, a password box, a survival kit. 30 long minutes later, hunters and servants streamed off the submarine. Stepping outside, Leo immediately sensed a strange, choking scent, the air of the Dark Continent. He covered his nose, but noticed everyone was already wearing gas masks. He hadn't received one. Daphne, spotting his confusion, whispered to a steward, "Give him one." Once masked, Leo nodded a silent thank you and glanced at Shizuku, his partner. No mask for her either. But her stare was unreadable behind hers. "Let's go. From here on, it's on me," Daphne announced, leading confidently. Some hunters scattered off alone or in small groups. Daphne didn't stop them, she wasn't here to babysit. Once counts were confirmed, she addressed the remaining 5,000, "Once in the forest, use your full strength, but remain absolutely silent in aura." All were veteran hunters. They'd understood even without her instruction. Except maybe Illumi. "Where is Ju?" Daphne snapped. The large force crossed a beach and entered an ominous black forest teeming with monstrous B-ranked beasts or higher. It was a deadly place. V5 knew how to avoid ambushes here, but only by concealing presence perfectly. "Sorry. I tried again, my N won't retract," Leo said. He'd been scanning with N, and dozens of powerful creatures lay just beyond sight, but within his range. "You idiot. Don't think you can just do whatever you want because you're strong. B-rank beasts aren't trifles." Daphne chastised him, slapping him sharply. Leo understood, but he had his reasons. This is the forest edge. If we're already scared here, how can we go deeper? Or do you honestly think you can lie hidden from them? "What do?" "There." Leo interrupted. He spread his arms dramatically. "We're surrounded, 2 kilometers radius." Nearby hunters released their N, but saw nothing. "Show them." Leo handed Daphne his binoculars. "Look yourself." Peering through, Daphne stiffened. Her pulse raced. Hunters prepared weapons, servitors crouched for battle. "Don't worry. I've been underwhelmed for months. I'm eager now." Leo tossed his bag to Shizuku. "Equal to me, you handle the west. I'll take the east." "What are you doing?" Shizuku protested, bag dropped. "You're the idiot," he teased, and Shizuku scolded him back, but dutifully began sorting his gear. A sharp cry pierced the forest. Leo knew now was not the time for games. He drew Dragon Sun and sprinted forward. "Leave the east to me, handle the west yourselves." "Arrogant brat." "Hey, interesting." Hunters watched as Leo took position in the east. At first, they thought he was foolhardy, but then a chilling aura radiated around him. Some with weak Nen began to freeze in place. Who is that?" Someone stammered. "Do you not remember? On the day the pioneer departed, Leo fought Netero and Periston, 1-on-2, with no disadvantage." "No way. A monster." One grunt spoke up, "Stay clear. That weird bird creature looks dangerous too." What they detected, tall birdmen, 3 meters long, cloaked in rainbow scales, with black flesh under their wings, and straight, dagger-like talons. How is this possible? Our ancestors scouted this place. How can unknown creatures just appear? Daphne stared at the birdman in shock. Taka, the gatekeeper, recalled a hidden truth. Whenever gatekeepers ventured to the Dark Continent, they were contracted to retrieve ancestral remains and secrets, and bring them home. But Dong clan didn't know that gatekeeper clans despised humans. They filtered what they returned. So the map they'd relied on, Daphne's proud achievement, was deeply flawed. Taka, shaken by the realization, looked east, then heard Daphne's voice. "Now do you know what that is?" She had coiled her water whip and ensnared Taka. "What are you doing?" "Confession by force. You hid your ancestral intel, didn't you?" Taka shuddered, knowing he'd been caught. Yet he protested weakly, "I didn't know everything. Just what I was shown." "Haha, doesn't matter now. I just want info on the birdmen," Daphne sneered. "Blood-crying beast," Taka gasped. "B rank overall. Fightable, for now. But if it spits blood, the victim cries, and dies in pain." "Tell them," Daphne ordered. Before Taka could finish, a war cry echoed from the west, hee like a rooster's crowing, but eerie and continuous. Immediately, hunters along the coastline fell into convulsions. It was as if their minds had been tampered with, bodies moving uncontrollably. Illumi grimaced, remembering. He plunged needles into his ears, cutting off the influence. What, so earplugs don't work here? He looked on as the group erupted into involuntary writhing, like a chaotic disco. Maki, who understood nerve manipulation, swiftly used her needles to disable those nearby and save December from the fate. Daphne nodded in thanks, though Maki clearly did not owe her anything. Illumi stepped forward and handed Daphne a note, transfer 50 billion to this account. She just stared. Meanwhile, Leo faced the blood-crying beast alone, but this beast could not induce vomiting like the others. Sword 3. He didn't pull out his sword, instead, 5 massive ice dragons materialized in the sky. Each was nearly 100 meters long, coated in jagged icicles. Their freezing presence restrained the beasts below. Once the 5th dragon emerged, frost spread outward, freezing waves mid-air into sculptures and transforming the dark forest into a crystalline dreamscape. Is this cold, Nen? Guess I'm not needed anymore, Illumi said, nodding, before walking away. Leo called weakly, hey, wait. He pushed himself relentlessly. 5 ice drakes was his limit, but a single beast would have sufficed. Still, after months of anticipation, he unleashed everything. It was both battle and a test of his own limits. Chapter 69. Leo's steps faltered, but soon he saw the mass of people thrashing about like dancers gone mad. He realized what had happened and rushed forward, only to feel a sharp click in his ears. Fortunately, Illumi swiftly pressed 2 needles into him, preventing a total mental collapse. One by one, some hunters plugged their ears with Nen or punctured their own eardrums. Now, around Daphne, a group had formed that communicated via sign language. Leo didn't know it, so he knelt and scribbled in the sand, "What's happening?" Daphne parted her red lips. Leo noticed one of her teeth was slightly crooked. This creature is called the blood-crying beast. After it vomits blood, it emits a mournful wail, and fights to the death. Understanding dawning, Leo wrote, "So. What now?" Daphne shook her head. "The beast will enter dormancy when away from sunlight." Leo checked his phone. Human world time showed 2:30 a.m. He wrote again, "Time here differs. Once night falls, will people still think straight?" Indeed, some hunters had already struck themselves fatally. Relying only on Maki and Illumi to save everyone while battling the beast seemed impossible. A handful of the Phantom Troop were assisting December's squad. Leo poked the dazed Illumi with his scabbard. "Why aren't you helping?" "Pay me," Illumi shrugged. Daphne already did. Leo pointed. Seeing Daphne nod, Illumi sighed. "Okay, protect me. The bird people hit hard." Leo patted his chest. "I'm worn out, but I can handle a few." Taka, freed from Daphne's water whip trap earlier, had hidden in a dark treetop. He watched Leo's group with keen interest. Yes, the blood-crying beast hibernates in night's darkness, but the birdmen do not. His gaze darted to the east, where Leo's icy domain glimmered. Fear flickered in his eyes. Though Leo's raw power was astonishing, Taka didn't believe this motley crew could survive the Dark Continent, especially lacking quick strategic thinking like Lost Voice World. Scene shift. Leo had rescued most of the hunters. Seriously wounded ones were taken to the 4th Dimension ward by Nobunaga and were receiving medical care. Though virtually deaf, the hunters' combat prowess grew stronger, channeling the fury of their involuntary mental dance. Later, they directed it all at the blood-crying beast. "Is this B-rank strength?" Leo murmured. Daphne asked, "Something wrong?" He shook his head. These beasts, balanced in power, felt akin to lower-tier Chimera and Royal Guards, not true B-rank. Is blood weeping the real reason? Or Where's Taka? Daphne looked around. The gatekeeper had vanished. That's wrong, Leo nodded. Compared to the ants, the blood-crying beast doesn't deserve B rank. Something's off, Taka is hiding something. He pondered. What had they missed about the birdmen? Night was falling. Most hunters rescued, their needles removed, dinner being prepared. The fallen were buried in solitary graves. Why fret? Night's here. The birdmen won't come now, Molewa teased Leo, who'd grown restless. How can you be sure? Nobunaga frowned. Taka said otherwise? Mo built a fire and set game to roast. Hey! Long night ahead, Leo sighed. Something gnawed at him. He scanned the crowd, but then spotted Maki, removed her mask, and wore a worried expression. That wasn't a good sign. Daphne, any prophetic Nen users here? She was spooning food, paused, gave him a measured glance, and ate on. What did that mean? Leo realized, most in Daphne's team were combat-focused, no one specialized in extrasensory perception. Except the Eastern servants. He recalled them carrying advanced tech, but had seen no Nen display. It became clear, Daphne was using this hunting squad as mere pawns for her own Dark Continent agenda. Shizuku approached with Leo's bag and food. He clamped his jaw, toothache. He tossed compressed biscuits into his mouth with a loud crunch. Shizuku tilted her head, confused. Was that a toothache? As the night deepened, the stars above formed unfamiliar constellations, pearls embedding the sky. Galaxies I've never seen. Look, the North Star looks different here. Hunters used stargazing to confirm Leo's theory, this was indeed another world. Then, chirp. Chirp. The eerie birdsong returned. Leo felt a surge of danger. Hunters snapped to attention. Some shielded the fire, others deployed their N. They're moving. I thought they slept at night. They're changing. Look, they're turning into birds. Moments later, as darkness engulfed the sky, countless blood-red bird creatures filled the heavens. Read? Leo hissed. Daphne exclaimed, the weeping blood beast. This species displayed intelligence, not like its crying kin. This meant gatekeepers hid only their daytime forms, but why? She pieced together intel in her mind. The weeping beast absorbs sorrow from living beings into its beak. Once full, it emits that deadly birdsong, controlling any who hear it. Controlling? Leo whispered. Yes, cover your ears, Daphne shouted urgently. Chapter 70. Night had fallen, and silence reigned. A sinister wind whistled through the blood-red wings of the blood-crying beast, blanketing the coast in darkness and dread. Every heart fluttered with unease. In the silent center, hunters guarded Daphne and the team. Without light, their hearing was compromised, so Leo and others resorted to handwritten communication, something Leo could do effortlessly with his mind. He wrote, my Nen has recovered half its power, I can probably use Sword 3 twice. There are too many weeping blood beasts here. I need you to lure them together. Daphne considered, then scribbled back, that's risky, Sword 3 is like artillery. If it hits hunters, they'll die. Then move into the forest? Someone wrote. No. Nights in the forest are more dangerous. Keep formation, Leo handles part, we'll cover the rest. Leo jotted another note, one question, if the beast attacks with sound waves, blocking ears won't stop it. Daphne replied, his shout resonates physically. Use telekinesis to defend. With consensus reached, most hunters moved west. Leo stayed behind, his cold-themed Nen had reshaped their expectations of transformation-type users. They were in awe of his ability to freeze the environment. One hunter addressed him, not leaving? Leo wrote, no, need you by my side. Too many unknowns. Illumi scribbled back, Dad insisted I stick with you. Relieved, Leo wrote, "Good. Now help lure them close, I'll prep." Illumi grumbled, "Asshole, are you paying me?" He couldn't hear Leo, but responded when Daphne nodded, agreeing to pay him once this was done. Taka, having escaped earlier, hid atop a dark canopy with interest. He observed as weeping blood beasts, sensitive and intelligent versions of the regular beast, began to flock to Leo's ice bait. A blood-red whirlwind condensed above them, a terrifying spectacle. Leo's eyes glowed, soared 3. With a roar, an immense ice dragon soared into the night sky, visible to hunters relocating at the forest edge. The chill froze the beasts, and Illumi, startled, withdrew swiftly. The ice dragon carved a path through the sky like a brushstroke of frost. But weeping blood beasts attacked from behind. One seized Leo, flying him skywards and slamming him into sand with a violent boom. The beast's curved talons left 8 bloodied claw marks on Leo's shoulder. A guttural hiss echoed as it chirped victoriously. Leo countered with a sweeping slash, but the beast anticipated him and fled. Furious, but knowing his limits, Leo instead summoned another ice dragon. With 2 dragons now, the air dropped below 0, slowing the beasts. Still, Leo stayed alert for another ambush. Soon it came, he dodged its lunge, but the beast opened its beak in a mocking screech. Soon, several beasts converged, an ambush. Leo, defiant, roared and summoned a tiny 10 cm ice dragon, its cold gentler, but its mind-linked vitality stronger. The small dragon knocked back the beasts, then carried Leo aloft between 2 larger dragons, a dragon trio soaring through the night. The beasts froze midair, cascading to the ground with ice-laden crashes. The small dragon then dissipated, expending all its energy. Leo hovered, drained, but determined. He'd used himself as bait to draw out the enemy. Approximately 10 meters above ground, a weeping beast descended, singing its morphic emotions into Leo's mind, a special Nen-like aura feeding on sorrow. Leo grinned, bait accepted. He clenched Dragon Sun, suppressed his aura, and readied his final move. Sword 0. In a blink, he shifted midair like a tethered warrior, his blade of Nen slashing through the beast mid-dive, splitting it clean in 2. Its blood left a symbol in the air. Across the dark sky, every weeping blood beast began to wound themselves, blood streaming into the unnatural sigil, fueling something unseen. Though Leo forced a pained expression, he knew the night was far from over. Chapter 71. As blood was injected, the runes in the air gradually grew larger and more complex. Leo slashed out 2 sword energies, but they had no effect on the rune at all. Illusion? But it didn't seem like it. The smell of blood in the air was not fake, which meant that this thing might not even be in this space. The rune gradually solidified and eventually formed a circular magic circle. There was an inexplicable evil flowing from it, as if it were alive. The wind stopped at some point, and the area surrounding the magic circle grew strangely quiet. During this time, many hunters launched attacks on the circle, but they had no effect. Such assault caused not a single ripple. Leo quickly closed his eyes and focused, hoping to regain a bit more strength. But once the circle was fully complete, Leo was forced to open his eyes. He thought he understood. A summoning circle. Because a giant with 12 pairs of ebony wings passed through the circle and landed before Leo and the others. Its head resembled a night crow's, adorned with 4 horns. It wore black armor and carried a massive bronze spear. Daphne. Any information? The moment he appeared, Leo clearly felt the vast gap in strength. There was no way brute force could beat this. He looked into Daphne's desperate eyes and understood the answer. Countless thoughts went through Leo's mind, but no solution emerged. My apartment can hold 50 more people. You decide. Nobunaga had lost his will to fight and turned to Leo. Save our own people first, and then bring along those with special telepathic abilities. Leo responded without hesitation. It was a harshly realistic decision, but he had no choice, and he wasn't included in the escape. As the demon arrived, Leo felt himself locked under a vague compulsion. It felt painfully familiar, probably the lingering will of the shadow beast he cleaved in two before. In other words, he was the demon's true target. So he couldn't go with him into the apartment, the demon would surely follow. Leo took a deep breath, finished making his plans, and shouted, "Everyone retreat. Do whatever it takes to survive." His voice was the catalyst that ignited the panic, and the hunters scattered like distressed birds, each seeking a chance to escape. "Aren't you coming?" Illumi asked curiously. "Haha, don't you know? Defeating a boss like this can drop unimaginable treasures. I don't want anyone stealing them from me, so I'll stay," Leo chuckled. Illumi remembered something his father had told him, but the giant's strength was too terrifying, he instinctively couldn't stay. "Good luck to you." Illumi finally chose to trust himself. He didn't need to risk his life over Leo's treasure. "Bye-bye." Leo's nonchalant attitude made Daphne look at him in a new light. "Ignore me, run. We can regroup later. This is my fault," intelligence slipped. "But don't worry, I'll sort it all when I return," Daphne said, voice heavy with guilt. Leo suddenly laughed. "Daphne, do you know why this giant hasn't moved since appearing?" "You mean?" "He locked onto me the moment he arrived. If I stay still, it should buy you some time to flee. Let's go. I think he's preparing something." Before Daphne could finish, the shadowy figure grabbed her arm and dragged her into Nobunaga's apartment. At that moment, Leo was completely alone. TSK, they really are experienced hunters, fast as fleeing birds. Leo shook his head and smiled, but then grew serious as the giant moved. It flapped its 12 massive wings, landed slowly before Leo, opened its lantern-like eyes, and stared down at him. "People?" Leo froze at the giant's voice. He stared up at the 40 to 50 meter tall figure in shock. "Yes, hello." His mind raced, being able to communicate made all the difference. How could there be people here? Weren't they all driven away? The giant retracted its wings, squatted to inspect Leo more closely. "I came across the sea. Does the Dark Continent prohibit human entry?" Leo said cautiously. All the while he watched the giant's expressions, trying to guess its thoughts. So the gatekeepers are being lazy again. What trash! The giant growled, anger contorting its features. A cold wind blasted from its mouth, freezing the nearby sea instantly. Leo's eyelids twitched, this freeze surpassed even his 5-dragon power. "Your Majesty the Bloodthirsty. Please don't unfairly accuse good people." Leech leapt from the black forest, knelt before the giant, looking deeply aggrieved. "Was I wrong?" the giant asked in doubt. "It is humans who threaten us. They are numerous and powerful, and we tolerate the humiliation just to survive," Leech sobbed, portraying a victim's anguish vividly. "You planned this well, gatekeeper, but don't forget your place and don't yearn for what isn't yours." The giant's disdain was clear, yet it didn't remove Leech, it seemed to still see use in him. "Of course I remember. We are merely gatekeepers," Leech whispered. The giant accepted his answer with reluctant approval, then turned to Leo. "Do you wish to live?" Leo nodded. Though he was ready to fight to the end, he would not refuse an offer from the giant. "Extend your left hand." The giant pointed its spear at Leo, and in that moment, Leo felt as though the world had shrunk to just the two of them. The giant became the sky, and he a mere ant. Leo reluctantly extended his hand, mentally begging the scabbard for protection. "Scabbard, it depends on the situation." Having gauged the scabbard's stance, he feigned surrender and obediently held out his left hand. Seeing this, the giant wasted no time. With a light tap of its spear on Leo's palm, it imprinted a green seal. "From now on, you must kill 100 people daily and sacrifice them through this seal. If you fail, the seal will absorb the life force of 100 souls from your own body. After saying this, the giant flapped its wings and flew back to the rune circle. Then blood rained from the sky. The sky turned dark, and the rain was the blood of the shadow beast. Leo and Leech huddled in the black forest to avoid the crimson downpour. What exactly is a shadow beast? Leech eyed Leo impassively, then spoke. Those followers were more like slaves, coming and going freely, gathering blood food for him. So, their ability is sadness? Humph. Humans, don't impose your emotions on the Dark Continent. If you do, you'll die a miserable death, Leech said coldly. Leo chuckled softly and said nothing more. The arrogance Leech displayed just now, yet timidity earlier, it was so human, wasn't it? Chapter 72. Leo and Leech remained in the dark forest until dawn. As the sky lightened in the east, the scissors of time cleanly severed the night, heralding the beginning of a new day. Nobunaga poked his head out of the teleportation array, but before he could survey the area, Leo flicked the back of his head. "Who?" exclaimed Nobunaga. "Don't panic, it's me," Leo laughed, appearing in front of Nobunaga. "You're not dead. Hey! What kind of greeting is that?" Several black lines formed on Leo's forehead. If not for the relief of having escaped death the previous night, he might have given Nobunaga a serious lecture. "It's good you're alive." Nobunaga pulled out a few strands of hair, looking exhausted. "Call them out, the giant is gone." Leo glanced down at the seal on his palm, a bit uneasy. The scabbard's protective ability was closing off too slowly. He could already sense mental depletion, still within manageable range, but it wasn't a good sign. Consciousness space. "Leo, why is this seal still here?" "Scabbard, I'm not omnipotent. I can only open a gap and help you restore lost energy. As for how to manage it, you'll have to figure that out yourself." Leo. When his awareness returned, he found hundreds more people around him. Most were the injured who had been stored in Nobunaga's apartment space the previous day. Daphne and the others were there as well, but everyone seemed dispirited. Upon seeing that Leo had survived, Finks even muttered, "He's really not dead." Leo simply smiled and didn't take offense, but this reaction only infuriated Finks further. Daphne walked over, concerned. "Are you injured?" Leo was about to shake his head but remembered the seal. "Do we have a Nen exorcist? Or someone knowledgeable about curses?" Daphne scanned the group and replied, "We did, but he's not here. Must have escaped during the chaos last night." "What happened to you?" Leo didn't feel the need to hide it. He extended his left hand and said, "The giant cursed me. It'll absorb the energy of 100 people from my body each day." "What?" Daphne was shocked and quickly examined his palm. "The energy of those 100 people, is it unlimited?" a hunter asked suddenly. Then many others realized, if unrestricted, Leo only had to kill 100 people a day. Their gazes toward Leo began to change. Some even started to back away. "No." Leo retracted his hand and, seeing Shizuku looking at him with concern, said, "I can recover the energy of 100 people just by breathing. Don't worry." "I'm not worried about you. I'm just afraid you'll eat me. I don't want to die that way," Shizuku said seriously. "Ha ha." Some hunters laughed aloud. Leo had often been embarrassed in front of Shizuku during their journey. Watching them now reminded many of their youth. "TSK, saying one thing while thinking another," Leo muttered. "Hee, Shizuku never lies." Finks grinned triumphantly as if exposing Leo's weakness. A strange glint flickered in Shizuku's eyes, though she neither denied nor confirmed it. Her real feelings weren't as blank as her face seemed. But there was no time for reflection. The giant from last night had been a nightmare, a brutal lesson in what the Dark Continent truly was. "Tell us about the giant. How did you get away?" someone asked. After a brief pause, Leo recounted the previous night's events. It could talk and understand human language. More importantly, it was a gatekeeper. One of the gatekeepers of the Dark Continent. But that curse is alarming. If he can absorb Leo's energy, what else can he do? Control his body? That creature looked like a mythological demon. Wait, what about the gatekeeper, Leech? Unable to find him, they turned to Leo. Do you know where he went? Leo nodded but didn't reveal Leech's location. Leech had left at dawn, saying he could remove the curse, but needed to retrieve specific items. Leo had agreed. At the time, he believed the scabbard alone would be enough, but backup preparations never hurt. Now, he was glad he did. Seeing Leo unwilling to elaborate, the others dropped the subject. They retrieved their supplies from Nobunaga's apartment, rested a bit, then resumed their journey into the Black Forest. In the end, human desire outweighed fear of the unknown. Even after enduring a night of horror and setback, Daphne was pleased. This meant her plan could proceed at last. Her makeshift army had scattered during the chaos, yet she remained calm, guiding the group with expertise. Thus, the team of 370 officially entered the Dark Continent. After a day's journey, they emerged from the Black Forest and reached a swamp. Daphne found a signpost and, following its directions, led the team into the wetland. Strange creatures writhed in the mud. Though they appeared weak, no one dared disturb them. Who knew what might lie hidden beneath? As they continued, Leo's pace began to slow. The curse of weeping blood was more troublesome than expected, and his energy reserves were already low. He was relying on the scabbard's power to keep going. Eventually, someone noticed Leo's condition. It was Nobunaga. He hadn't spoken to Leo since December. One more sign of weakness, and I'll draw my sword. His voice drew everyone's attention, and they were surprised to see Leo visibly fatigued. Not compared to themselves, but compared to the always strong Leo, he looked much weaker now. Tsk. Nobunaga, why not just stab him already? Fink said, annoyed. Our top priority is survival. We can solve other things later. If he dies, we're all in trouble. Nobunaga frowned, his tone serious. Finks grunted twice but fell silent, clearly agreeing. Maki looked like she wanted to speak but held back. Shizuku didn't hesitate. She walked over, grabbed Leo's arm, and said, I'm helping you. Don't eat me. Leo was exasperated but also amused. Thinking she might be hiding embarrassment, he allowed her to support him. Looking at the swordsman ahead, he said, Nobunaga, thanks. Nobunaga stiffened slightly, then silently rejoined the main group. Elsewhere, near the landing point, Illumi discovered a human who wasn't part of their team. After the man volunteered information, Illumi learned the pioneer's location. With Daphne's group scattered, he needed new options. Guided by the coerced hunter, Illumi reached the pioneer's base. Unlike Daphne's expedition, the pioneers had entrenched themselves near the coast, advancing slowly. Their caution had made progress painfully slow. After a month, they hadn't even crossed the forest. Now a worldly man, Illumi couldn't help sneering at their methods. What good was caution when real terror struck? Oh? Why are you here? Hisaka, returning from a hunt with a massive blue monster in tow, appeared behind Illumi. Shouldn't I be asking that? Why are you here? Illumi had spotted Hisaka early on, but there was no need to hide, they were partners, after all. And it was Hisaka. One of my toys was stolen. I came to check it out. You? Oh? My brother ran away from home. I came looking for him. The two locked eyes, silent, but the bond between them was unmistakable. Chapter 73. Deep in the wetland, a clearing next to the swamp was crowded with hunters. Most of them were injured, but that didn't affect their fervor in the slightest. Because they'd made a discovery. Although it was Daphne who found it, everyone felt as if they could see a future overflowing with gold and riches. This is one reason cooperative hunters are often disliked. Most of them are bounty hunters, mercenaries moved by profit. At this moment, they gathered together, marveling at the purple night pearl in Daphne's hand. Amidst the fog of the wetland, its glow was dazzling, strikingly beautiful. Especially when viewed with Gyo, you could occasionally glimpse flickering images within the bead. Can this be recorded? You have to focus to see clearly. That means it's imbued with some sort of strange power. It's probably more than just a simple recording. Could it hold memories? A martial arts manual? Bro, don't be ridiculous. Molewa gently chided him, and Leo chuckled sheepishly. It was obvious he was the one who'd blurted out the martial arts manual idea. We'll investigate its true abilities after we've left this swamp. Right now, our top priority is survival, Daphne said as she pocketed the pearl and resumed leading the group. Everyone followed without hesitation. Daphne had proven herself through action, earning the trust of many hunters. By now, most followed her orders without question. Leo was still being supported by Shizuku. Because of their height difference, most of Leo's weight leaned on her. Honestly, it felt pretty nice. Having such a soft, fragrant, delicate woman by his side, Leo felt his heart flutter. He quickly sent out a cooling thought to calm himself, only to earn a scowl from Shizuku. It's freezing. Walk on your own if you're going to act like that. Hearing her protest, Leo smiled awkwardly and promised he'd warm up in a moment. After settling himself down, Leo felt much more focused. They were still in danger, letting his guard down was out of the question. Strange creatures lurked everywhere. Though they hadn't run into many due to Daphne's careful leadership, it didn't mean the area was safe. Suddenly, the group halted, and Leo activated N to sense their surroundings. Due to his depleted aura, he couldn't keep it up constantly. Something's coming. Leo detected a presence ahead, toward the east. It was a monster. It resembled a crocodile, covered in sharp barbs. But most striking was its color, pure, flawless white. It looked like a demonic crocodile, but Leo sensed something different. He was sure others felt it too. That thing's terrifying. A monster. A monster. Run, wait. Where can we even run? Panic erupted. This wasn't normal. Even the appearance of the weeping giant hadn't caused such loss of composure. As the group's leader, Daphne should have held firm. But her face was twisted with terror, her eyes red and watery. Tears and snot ran freely. Her green army jacket was soaked in sweat. It's fear. Leo's eyes remained sharp, he wasn't affected. He glanced at Shizuku, who was struggling under his weight. He realized he couldn't let that thing run wild. The group would fall apart. He gripped Dragon Sun, gathered the last of his aura, and slowly drew a crescent-shaped arc of energy. The sword aura curled like a ribbon through the air, winding around the group and heading straight for the monster. The strange crocodile screeched in pain, shook its head, then slipped into the swamp and vanished. Once it disappeared completely, everyone snapped out of the trance, fear still etched on their faces. Daphne quickly pulled out a tissue to wipe away her tears. Leo. Are we even worthy of entering the Dark Continent? She walked to the center of the team. Her eyes were still swollen, her voice trembling. That's why we travel in groups, Leo said seriously. Daphne understood what he meant. Under this boundless sky, individual human strength was minuscule, but united, humanity became a force no one could ignore. Yet the problem remained, even united, they were still weak. Their only true source of power was Leo alone. Skilled hunters became grunts in the Dark Continent, useful only for dealing with lesser threats. Seeing the confusion on Daphne's face, Leo clarified. Daphne, Maybe you should give them a chance. He gestured at the hunters surrounding them. They're top hunters. But behind you, they're nothing but foot soldiers. That's a waste. Let them find their own way. You'll get them killed. A hunter immediately pushed back. They had survived the darkness and let go of past achievements. Now, Leo was their only hope of survival. But if you stick with me, you'll never surpass yourselves. Leo paused, then added bluntly, and right now, you're just a burden. The words cut deep. They were elite in the human world, never had they been called burdens. But they couldn't argue. Because it was true. Leo, did you mean me too? Daphne tugged at his sleeve and whispered. Leo gave her a side glance, then scoffed. You think you're not a burden, Daphne? You. Her hand slid under his coat and pinched his waist, hard. Leo flinched but kept his tone sharp. I'm weak now. If you don't want to be my next meal, go. Everyone remembered the curse, the seal requiring him to drain the life force of 100 people per day. Their expressions grew tense again. If they left Leo, they might die. But staying with Leo might mean the same. And Leo's stance was firm. He had no intention of leading them anymore. To remain now would be foolish. The hunters gradually dispersed. Most returned the way they came, the safest route. A few chose to press onward. Soon, only Shiu and Daphne remained with Leo. You're staying? Humph. Stop pretending. Daphne scoffed. You just want to change a 1% chance into 0.1 plus 0.1 plus 0.1. Don't think I haven't figured you out. What do you mean? Shizuku asked, confused. He has evolved, Fink said with disdain. I get it now. The rest of the December group nodded, grasping Leo's true intent. I'm the only one who doesn't understand. Shizuku murmured to herself, puzzled. Chapter 74. Leo's strategy was simple, cast a wide net. He believed that Netero had opened the gate to the Dark Continent with this intention in mind. Thinking of Netero, Leo started to worry again about the pioneers, the team that had landed a month ahead of them. He wondered what approach they had taken to face the endless unknown. He laughed to himself and shook his head. He didn't have the time or energy to worry about other people's business. Now that the team had split up, there was a sense of relief among the remaining members, as though a burden had been lifted. But after pushing through 2 layers of dense fog, they had to divide into men's and women's groups to change clothes. The fog in the wetlands was so thick and moisture-laden it was almost like wading through a river of mist. Leo was with the men's team. He pulled out his special outfit, crafted from silica-based quartz fabric and heat-resistant. It was dark green, built for outdoor survival. Once everyone had changed, they resumed their trek through the endless mist. The next day, after traversing most of the wetland, Leo's team finally spotted figures ahead. It was the Kaken Empire expedition team. Upon seeing a few familiar faces, Leo slowly let down his guard. It's Prince Halkenberg. We know him. It's him? That's not too bad. Daphne also recognized him. Among the many princes of Kaken, only the 9th prince seemed somewhat sane. Soon, the other group noticed Leo's party, and the first to approach was a greasy-faced first mate. It's you. Apparently, he had a good memory, he recognized Leo. Just as Leo was about to greet him, the portly first mate reached out to Shizuku and said, "Hello, beautiful. Remember me?" Shizuku shook her head and didn't answer. Leo feigned ignorance. "Who are you?" "Just call me Brad. What country are you from?" "The largest in the east," Daphne said coldly. Just one encounter had left her with a terrible impression of the Kaken Empire. "The largest eastern one in the V5, right?" Brad seemed to suddenly realize, and his expression shifted to caution as he glanced over Leo and the others. Though Kakin had squeezed into V5, becoming V6, everyone knew the truth. Even the Kakin Empire didn't see themselves as true members of V5, and V5 likely felt the same. Leo. Is the Phantom Troop still around? Killua was also with Prince Halkenberg's group, thankfully uninjured. But when Illumi spotted Aluka behind Killua, his concern about the Dark Continent's dangers deepened. Leo, you're here after all. Prince Halkenberg also came over. Hello, Killua, Prince Halkenberg, Aluka, and Nanika. Leo greeted them cheerfully, full of energy, no sign of the weakness he'd shown earlier with Shizuku. It made some wonder if he'd been feigning it. After returning the greeting, Aluka suddenly changed her expression. Apparently, Nanika still remembered him. Where are your people? Prince Halkenberg asked curiously. When they first entered the Dark Continent, there had been thousands in Leo's group. Now, only a dozen remained. Disbanded, Leo said solemnly. Confusion flickered across Halkenberg's face, but he quickly understood. Not everyone could operate like him. Numbers didn't guarantee strength. Without enough power, a large team was just a liability. Then come with us. Daphne was annoyed at Halkenberg's domineering tone and was about to refuse, but Leo stopped her. He wasn't in great shape. Until he found Leech, it made sense to follow the Ninth Prince's group. Noticing Leo's condition, Daphne realized he lacked the confidence to lead, so she held back, for now. After joining Prince Halkenberg's team, Leo noticed they had about 1,000 people left, and the group looked battered. Clearly, they had encountered at least a Class B threat. Looking at Killua playing with Aluka, Leo asked with amusement, "Did you give Killua some of your feathers?" "Brother? Isn't that a sister?" Halkenberg was startled, not having paid close attention to Aluka. Understandable. If you didn't know Nanika's secret, who would take a child so seriously? Well, except for Lollicons. Sigh. I took back Killua's feather mark. That kid's heart isn't with me, Halkenberg sighed as he watched the brothers play. Leo chuckled silently. Killua's heart had always belonged to that person. What a shame. Why? Leo just shook his head. That was a Zoldyck family secret, not his to tell. If Illumi had truly listened to Silva, maybe things would have ended differently. Leave those two brothers to me. It's their father's request. Halkenberg nodded. While Killua was capable, his team wasn't lacking in talent. They didn't speak much more and returned to their seats. Get anything out of it? Daphne asked coldly, clearly still annoyed from earlier. Oh yes. We gained 2 cute kids. Not bad, huh? Leo pointed to the Zoldyck brothers, who clearly stood out from everyone else. You're playing house with them? Not exactly. Leo answered cryptically. Is it him? Shizuku suddenly understood. Shizuku, you remember? Maki asked curiously. For Shizuku to recall someone, it must be important. But... Shizuku hesitated. Just as the troop members were about to press her, they saw Leo's half-smile and dropped the subject. Forgot who you are, little one? Finks teased. How could I forget? I'm Shizuku, she said with a blank expression. The group sighed. She was clearly pretending not to know, classic Shizuku. Shizuku. I see. Nobunaga muttered with a complicated expression. In a nearby, unnoticed corner, Kurapika and his group sat huddled. They departed on Prince Halkenberg's ship, but with only 4 seats available, Nyan insisted on coming along. So Kakin's team only included Nyan, Melody, Basho, and Kurapika. Kurapika, it's Illumi. That lazy jerk. Why are we hiding? Nyan tugged Kurapika's arm, whispering urgently. Miss, we're different from them. Really? Leo's voice suddenly chimed in, startling them. Ah. You scared me, "You slacker," Nyan yelled. Melody remained calm. She had sensed Leo's footsteps long ago. Basho just nodded in greeting. Only Kurapika looked tense. His heart began to race. Melody listened closely to his heartbeat. It seemed like there was history between these two. "Not going to welcome me? We were once colleagues," Leo said with a bright smile. If only his emotions matched it. His feelings toward Kurapika were complicated. He'd once planned to help him take revenge, only to be nearly killed by him after delivering the results. "You're not welcome here. Stay with your own group," Kurapika said coldly. Leo still cared, but Kurapika also resented Leo's wavering loyalties. He glanced at the nearby Phantom Troop members and sneered, "Nice protection job, they're all still alive." "Ha! If you want to kill them, go ahead. I won't stop you," Leo snapped. "You think I won't dare?" Kurapika roared. His shout drew everyone's attention, including the December group. "It's that chain bastard. Two damn guys together." Nobunaga gripped his katana tightly, teeth clenched. He wanted to kill Kurapika on the spot. Unlike with Leo, Kurapika had killed Banolanov, wounded Finks, and captured him alive, all in front of Nobunaga. And since he couldn't bring himself to hate Leo, he redirected all the fury onto Kurapika. It was like mortal enemies meeting, utter, uncontrollable rage. "You want revenge? We love drama like this. We'll help you for free." The Invisible Brothers chimed in gleefully. Chapter 75. The hazy river of fog obscured the outlook over the wetlands, and in this murky world, the hunter struggled to navigate. Leo and the others followed at the end of the Kaken team's formation. He didn't allow Shizuku to support him, this wasn't their territory. He could conceal his depleted nen with Setsu, but if he had to rely on others just to walk, he'd truly be vulnerable. After all, enemies didn't just come from the Dark Continent. Right now, he had to lift the curse of the Weeping Giant as soon as possible, or he wouldn't last much longer. Although the scabbard continued to drain energy to sustain him, it wasn't a long-term solution, its durability was finite. If he lost the scabbard, his strength might drop to a tenth of what it was, and that thought terrified Leo more than anything. When that time came, he might as well return home, inherit the Tianfeilu Kendo Gym, and become its next master. What a boring life. A spark lit in Leo's eyes. He was like a cat that had tasted fresh fish, unable to return to a life without it. His gaze swept across the team and landed on the Zolik brothers near Kurapika. "Aluka, looks like I'll have to ask for your help." Without much deliberation, Leo approached Killua and explained his situation. Killua gave Leo a strange look. "Leo, you've never opened that box?" "The box? You know about it?" Leo was stunned and confused. Why hadn't he opened that password-protected case yet? It made no sense. The contents had been a gift from the Zoldyck family, likely containing crucial Dark Continent information, and judging by the size, maybe even special items. "You know what's inside?" Killua shook his head, holding Aluka's hand, and led Leo away from the group. "Grandpa said the items inside are tied to Nanika, but he never let us touch them." With him? Leo's thoughts churned. Could the box contain remnants from Nanika's origin? He quickly retrieved the 30 × 20 cm silver lockbox from his backpack. After inputting the correct code, the box opened with a mechanical click. Inside were a notebook, and a stone mask. Nanika had silently taken Aluka's place. She quickly approached the box, picked up the mask, and stared at it with dark, swirling eyes. An overwhelming sadness emanated from her. Killua didn't look at Nanika, but he did pick up the notebook and said, "Yup, this is it. I remember there was a method in here to break the curse." Leo's spirits lifted. The Zoldyck family had clearly been well prepared. But why am I only opening this now? "Maybe it has something to do with that mask," Killua offered. He handed the notebook to Illumi, then gently stroked Nanaka's long hair, a look of affection on his face. As Leo flipped through the notebook, he found it packed with information never published by the Hunter Association, including creature classifications and bizarre rituals. He focused intently on the contents. The writing style was strange, more like a personal journal. Year 1930, Human Calendar. I encountered an overwhelming power, more terrifying than anything I've ever seen. I don't understand how 12 wings could carry that monstrous body through the air. But I could feel the massive disparity in power. I had already resolved to die with it. Yet, he had no intention of killing me. He left a blue seal on me and demanded a tribute of 100 units of blood food per day. If I failed, he would extract them from me. At first, back in the human world, I didn't worry. I had a Nen exorcist friend. But when he touched the seal, he went mad. His mind flooded with incomprehensible thoughts. I tried advanced healing tech, but it was no use. I began taking the curse seriously. I searched the human world for a solution. Eventually, I met him. He told me, the bloodthirsty demon's curse could be lifted by boiling 1 kilogram of frog right feet and 500 grams of slug tentacles into a soup and applying it to the seal. I did as he said. The seal vanished. I asked for his name and offered payment. He refused both. He said, "Go to the Dark Continent, retrieve a mask, and give it to a swordsman someday." His eyes pierced through time and space. I thought it was prophetic telepathy. Before we parted, he whispered, "I'm an angel sent to carry out God's will." I thought he was insane, until he unfurled white wings. The most beautiful wings I've ever seen. Year 1931, Human Calendar. Leo closed the notebook. He now knew how to remove the curse. And this notebook, no doubt the diary of Mahazoldik, contained many strange questions. The most perplexing was the so-called angel who knew him and had met Maha seemingly for the purpose of helping Leo. A demon? An angel? Divine will? It all sounded wildly off-brand for Hunter x Hunter. But these beings felt far too real. Still, now wasn't the time to dwell on philosophy. The curse still loomed. And this was the Dark Continent. There wouldn't be docile frogs or slugs lying around. "Nanaka, help him." Killua's voice broke the silence. Leo turned toward him. He knew Killua disliked relying on Nanaka's powers. That made this moment more meaningful. "Thank you," Leo said sincerely. "In return, I want that mask," Killua said, pointing to the one in Nanaka's hand. "Deal," Leo replied without hesitation. It belonged to the Zoldyck family anyway, and he had no intention of walking the path that mysterious angel laid out. Nanaka responded gently. Moments later, a Kaken hunter was abruptly pulled into the swamp by a monster. As he struggled, he flung his backpack toward Leo by sheer chance. There was no need to open it, Leo already knew it held exactly what he needed. A flicker of dread crossed his eyes. Nanaka's power should not be used lightly. That unlucky hunter likely became monster food because Nanaka altered the trajectory of fate. Still, Leo quickly collected himself, opened the pack, and found everything he required, even a medicinal cauldron prepared for him.